I'm a nerd.
Nerds.
Nerds.
Nerds!
I'm not kissing a nerd.
What is a nerd?
Nerd! Holy crap, are we nerdy?
Fuck his shit. I don't like John Hughes.
He's dead anyway, so it don't matter about it.
Wow.
He's dead. What is he gonna do about it?
One time my sister turned around with big ass eyes and told me, "You know what's so weird? We've never formally introduced ourselves to each other."
Welcome, Nerdibles, to episode 115, and we are coming to you on the Eve
Nope, don't say it.
of...
Nope.
We
You're
can't
an
say
idiot.
it? We're
Nope,
not going to
leave
say
it
it?
free. Leave it free. We're going to talk about it all next week.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Don't even mention it.
Film that shouldn't be named.
So this week, we're going to talk some more trailers, because apparently all of the summer trailers have decided that they need to drop around Christmas. So we're going to talk X-Men Apocalypse. Originally, I thought it was Age of Apocalypse, but it's actually just Apocalypse. We're going to talk Independence Day, what was it? Resurgence, and Harley Quinn's Little Black Book, and let's see if there's any time for anything else. I know, there's a lot of misspellings on that because I hadn't even paid attention to it, and I was watching football. What are you looking at?
Oh, I'm just wondering what we're bringing to the classroom here.
With the classroom.
Yeah, Happy Holidays, room 18, parents.
No, that's the wrong thing.
Please check what you are able to bring to the classroom. 1 box regular tea, 1 box herbal tea, 24 muffins or scones. Who the hell in the classroom is drinking tea? That's what
I don't know.
24 cookies. Wow. Fruit platter.
It is.
That's the thing. Look, you can either do 1 box of regular tea, just a box, or you can do 24 cookies.
Yes.
Why would anybody sign up for cookies?
Little kids are gonna be drinking tea at school.
So there's going to be a lot of tea
and
because,
cookies.
you know, no one's going to bring cookies.
2 tubs of cream cheese. Wow. 24 bagels. Turkey sandwiches, 6 of them cut into fourths. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, 6 cut into fourths. Cups, silverware, or napkins.
2 tubs of cream cheese. That's a pretty big assumption that the parents are just gonna slough.
I was gonna say, is this for the kids or is this for the parents? Because like bagels and tea
Would seem like
You gotta
Yeah.
bring some locks.
Can you get some locks in here?
So anyways,
Can we get some locks in here?
you guys want to talk about the X-Men trailer first?
Yeah, sure.
So we just all watched it again. What do you guys think of X-Men Apocalypse?
It kind of looks like.
I'm really mad that he's purple.
Really?
Everyone's gonna be mad that he's purple.
Well, because that's
he's
what it
blue.
was. Everybody was mad at first that Apocalypse was purple because that's what the first thing that they
yeah,
showed.
because it's probably what the makeup for the lighting was.
Right.
Yep.
Well, he also looked like, I mean, everybody thought at first he looked like a Power Rangers.
Villain, or at
Villain.
least like Ivan Ooze. Coincidentally, was Belloc in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes.
We're talking about nerd connections. Yeah, it looked like just like, oh, we're gonna do The Last Stand over again, but get it right. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but
Right.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by the trailer.
Did you like the trailer?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
What did you think, Mikey?
No, I liked it.
Since I skipped going
I'm
around the
fine
table
with-
if he was
I'm
here.
fine with Apocalypse now. I mean, yeah, that was a.
Even though he's
early
purple, he's
still-
super
it was
purple?
Early still, when they showed that picture, so and it looked like crap back then. But
for me,
it
it's
looks
his
fine
size.
in the trailer.
Yeah.
Ethan?
It looks much better. Yeah, I'm more inclined to go see it now.
Mohawk Storm.
What'd you,
it's got a lot
and
of
Chris,
cool-
obviously?
Jubilee.
We just want to point out that on this show, we said there's no way he's going to look purple.
Right.
That it was just something in a still versus the way he would be done in post-production. And sure enough, in post-production, he looks a lot like Apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, there are some changes. They didn't do the mouth.
Well, even they changed the makeup on him because that first picture didn't look anything like the comic book interpretation of Apocalypse. And
Well, he's
so
still
that's what
missing some
everybody was
pieces
like.
in terms of.
Yeah,
like,
but he
if you
looks a
want
lot
super
closer
accurate.
than he did.
A lot of
in those
people were
first
saying
pictures.
that he wasn't tall enough to be
That's-
Apocalypse.
That's still my big bone of contention. For me, like the scale of just it's like when you like look at like Dark Knight Rises,
Mhm.
and it's basically Bane and Batman are the same height, and they try and do some stuff in the close-ups when they're together, but you really like they didn't go through height. It's not like they tried to Lord of the Rings and really give you that good sense of comic book scale with characters.
Yeah, but I think they play around with it. The fact that you see it in the trailer.
Yeah,
that
he
he
can
get bigger.
become
Yeah,
he can grow in
I'm
size,
perfectly
which
fine
I
with that.
appreciate.
Yeah.
But it's just he doesn't look physically
Right.
imposing.
Right.
He's not like
That was one of the
giant-
things
he's
about
not-
Apocalypse that was like
Oscar Isaac's
freaky.
not a big guy in the first place.
Right?
Yeah.
No,
That's
no,
the
not
hard
at
thing.
all.
Hey, look at the 3 3/4 toys. You had Apocalypse, Thanos, and the Hawk, all really bigger than the other scale of the toys.
Right.
Yeah.
In the trailer, Apocalypse isn't that Hawk. If you look at the Incredible Hulk,
Hulking
Yeah.
figure.
he's not that
He's
hulking
that.
figure.
For me,
yeah.
it's that. For me, that sort of thing is like we have the ability to do it, and it disappoints me that for some reason in this day and age, there's still certain lines that they're afraid to cross. Like, oh no, now people won't buy into our movie that there's mutants with superpowers. But it's for me, like the most ridiculous thing I ever heard, like with like Avengers, the moment Thanos shows up at the very end, someone's like, then that purple guy showed up at the end, was kind of stupid. It's like, really, that's the line.
Right.
And I go, it's like really, you're afraid that if you make Apocalypse, 10 feet tall and like Dwayne Johnson size, people are just gonna suddenly check out of your film with mutants.
But do you
Granted,
think?
also think there's not a lot of actors in
No.
Hollywood that are pretty tall. I mean, a lot of actors are pretty short.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
like
when
my
you
height.
get to somebody like that, because you have to go like Guardians of the Galaxy, and
Yeah,
you
but
have
you
to
could
go to
still-
a wrestler or something who's one of those big imposing
Right,
type
but you can
characters.
also, you can also shoot them for scale, build different size sets
Yeah.
and stuff.
Well, sure. Look at Gandalf in,
Yeah,
in
Gandalf in
Lord of the Rings.
and they did a great job. John Rhys Davies is something like on the order of 6'1" or 6'2".
Yeah.
but they made him 4 foot nothing.
Yeah.
and did it seamlessly. And I just feel like is it effort that they just don't want to put in?
But do you think
'Cause they don't
it
think
was a
it's a payoff?
choice for Bryan Singer to make him normal size so that way it is more relatable?
I don't know.
Or so that he can grow and.
Yeah,
it's more
or if he's
imposing.
gonna
Yeah.
change his size.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the
Because
way
if,
that
if he's his normal size, let's say he's the same size as Xavier or even Magneto for that matter. If he is the same size, but then when he grows, because obviously we see him grow and he's pushing down on Xavier or somebody at that point, and you see him grow and you see the image start to expand in the
I get the
in the
feeling that's a
footage.
dream sequence.
You think so?
Part of me is
Yeah.
thinking about that. Like that feels like a dream sequence, but really cool though.
But also, what if they use
it's
that
it's
as?
a good homage to being able to like, oh yeah, see he can be imposing. Or
Yeah.
they
But
do
what if that's their way of like introducing on like how powerful he is or how much they should be scared of him because like he does look normal and then all of a sudden he can grow
Yeah.
10 times his size.
Yeah,
It's
eh,
more daunting, I guess.
Yeah. No, otherwise the trailer looked cool. For me, it's just like we have the technology, we have the power. We can make.
We can rebuild him.
We can rebuild them. We can make him.
We
bigger
can
and
rebuild
better.
him into
Let,
something taller.
us save the
faster.
Mark Wahlberg $60 billion man for later on because that's going to happen.
It'd be like if they cast Lou Ferrigno again as the Hulk in like Avengers. It'd be like, really, you could just CGI the Hulk. You don't need to just get a.
As far
you
as
could
being,
you could make Apocalypse be a CG character and just have people go, okay,
just get Andy
I-
Serkis to do the voice.
yeah, exactly.
It-
Frank Welker.
yeah.
Frank Welker to do the voice.
As far as the trailer, was there anything in it? Because last episode we talked about the Batman Superman trailer where it seemed to give away everything. Do you feel that this trailer did a better job of hiding the story, but giving you enough to entice you to what the plot might be?
Well, they spoiled the fact that Katniss is in it because apparently Jennifer Lawrence
Doesn't like
takes
wearing
that
clothes and makeup.
character and it's like today we have to fight and we have to do
Which
this.
is
It
really
looks very
weird.
much more
It's straight up
not
like-
Mystique in this.
Yeah.
It looks more like Katniss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
which,
she just hasn't. She doesn't have the mystique thing.
but if you go back and look at the
Can't hide Jennifer
original,
Lawrence's face. It's the same reason why
If
Thor
it's
keeps
gonna-
his helmet on for 2 seconds.
Right.
If it's the last one that she's going to be in, you might as well.
but if you go back and look, because we just watched X-Men, the first X-Men last night when we were here. Well, if you look at that whole movie, Rebecca Romijn is Mystique throughout the whole thing, unless she's changing into another character. There's very rarely that you see her as a person, as Rebecca.
Well, even in the X-Men First Class, Jennifer Lawrence was still a nobody and was in the makeup for 90% of that film. But now that she's famous, you can't hide her face.
But X-Men First Class worked because it was the evolution of the mutation.
right. But again, it's the same reason Chris Evans can't keep his helmet on as Cap for more than a couple minutes when he's fighting, because you gotta show the face, you gotta show the moneymaker.
But
what's
even
bringing
in the
people.
comic books now, you see Cap without his mask a lot more.
He's also old now too.
Well,
Well,
but
that's
even before
sad.
you got to be old, before you even got to Captain America: Winter Soldier, he still was taking his mask off more and more. It was because you knew Steve Rogers as the secret identity to Cap.
Right, but even
When
so,
it's somebody that is actually more of a secret identity, or more of in this case, a mutant that's their normal look.
right, but it's
You
movie.
expect to see it more.
Well, we know why. It's
Right.
because she's famous.
Oh, yeah.
and they can't hide her face. And even
Who is she?
Yeah, some,
It's,
yeah.
it's also, I mean, but it works when you come up with like a clever out what they did for Iron Man,
Right.
Where you shoot him in the black with
Uh-huh.
all of the HUD around his face, and that's a really clever out to like how do you Iron Man, but also you can't have him fight without a helmet,
Right.
for the entire movie.
But see, for a character like that, it works. But
Right.
even if you look at the Incredible Hulk in the Avenger movies, you have these moments where once he needs to, Bruce Banner that is, transform into the Hulk, he is the Hulk until they somehow, in Avengers 2, Scarlett Johansson does her little nursery rhyme to bring him out.
right.
But it's not a well, I mean, that character's kind of odd anyway.
odd
So
'cause-
it's
'cause
hard
he
to do with that
also-
character.
But the Hulk also is modeled to look after whichever actor's playing.
Exactly.
That's
too.
true.
But it's not, again, Hawkeye doesn't have a mask or wear sunglasses in
Right.
the movies because you got to show Jerry Renner's face. Thor, in the first Thor movie, he wears the helmet when they first arrive from battle in
Yeah.
Asgard, and then immediately takes off the helmet, and you never see it. He even armors up at the end of the movie.
Uh-huh.
What happened to your helmet, man? You don't want
Do
your melon of a noggin getting crushed in.
Before we get too far into,
He's
into
a god.
do you feel that that's kind of the bad thing about the movie, the superhero movies?
It's been going on. I mean, even when you look at like not so much the first Batman, but when you get into the second Michael Keaton Batman,
Yes.
the thing he does, the big finale, is he rips off the mask to show his identity.
Mm-hmm.
And they've kind of done that even with the Christian Bale ones. They kind of tried to ride the line, and I think they did a better job of it more than any other superhero movie currently. Because, with Michael Keaton and, the Schumacher movies, when he became Batman, it was already star power.
Right.
So they didn't really have a need to take off the mask, except for that one moment at the movie where he needs to, reveal himself to a certain character, and some of the fighting has already died down. But with Christian Bale, we know he's Christian Bale. There's, for me, it's that weird, it's like, oh, who's Batman? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to suddenly forget that it's Christian Bale as Batman.
Right.
And they feel like, no, people have to see the face or they're going to become disinterested. And I don't think that's true, but I know that's how a lot of people think.
Would you
That's
rather
also
see?
a lot of the actors' contracts, too.
Well, that's where I was going to go
And
to
that's
the next
when
one.
you
Would
get
you
that
rather?
That's when you get the odd man out for Dread, when you have
Keith Urban.
Carl Urban. Keith Urban is the music
Yeah.
singer.
Yeah, Carl Urban, who specifically demanded that he
That'd be a
never
whole
reveal
different
his
other
face
movie.
in the
Right.
film, versus everyone else's contracts who are like, no, you have to show my face.
Right. Well, and that's what I was going to say is, as far as I don't want to
You
jump.
look at the Sylvester Stallone when he wore that helmet for the opening
Uh-huh.
sequence and then never again, because again, you got to sell.
Brand recognition.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're
Well,
selling
you
themselves.
don't cover a face like this. You gotta make it out there.
Dread was an awesome movie.
And Dread was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you hear something, when you hear with a Carl, when he goes like, no, I am specifically asking to never show my face in this film because nobody should know what he looks like.
Would you
That's-
like to see more movies take that road, or
Yeah,
more
but it's-
actors?
But it's,
Not gonna
I would like more actors to take the role because for me that's self confidence in the ability. It's like
Yeah.
I know who you are, Chris Evans. I'm not
Right.
gonna.
Do you know him deep down?
I'm not a
See,
goldfish.
and here's what I wonder: knowing some more of the inside of the business, I'm wondering if it's more of the actor making that choice, or if it's their production team, their manager
Whatever
slash
their
agent.
agent or
Yeah.
and it's I mean, again, I can't fault all actors so much as I can also go like I'm sure there's somebody in a movie studio going like, no, we got this guy. You're gonna have to show his face.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Well,
the same as when
hey,
you
you know
show-
what? Chris Hemsworth, man, he's
I'm
gorgeous.
I'm
We've
paying,
got
I'm
to
paying
show
Chris
him.
Hemsworth money. I better get
Right.
Chris Hemsworth face.
Now, and I know we're gonna 2016. I know we're gonna talk about this a lot, especially in the very beginning. But something where we're seeing like Deadpool. The character of Deadpool is almost always in
Yeah.
a mask, even when there's not a like Spider-Man where there's Peter Parker sometimes or
right. Well, they even did that in the first 3 Spider-Man movies. He tears his mask
Right.
off or gets burned off every.
But in
spends a lot
something
of
like
money on
that, you can
costumes.
have Peter Parker and Spider-Man because they're both interesting characters on
Granted,
themselves.
for a struggling photographer, he has a lot of money to replace his
His spandex suits.
his suits.
There's some guy downtown
Yeah.
May is loaded.
I keep
Aunt May
sending
gets
red and blue
hypnotized.
You know how they
a
say they
lot.
don't, it doesn't sell like hotcakes or selling like hotcakes? She makes wheat cakes, that sell even more than hotcakes. So she makes a ton of cash, and she just fucking hides it from Peter.
It's all that money that
But
was left
my
to
point
him.
is with Deadpool, it's a character that is mainly in at least 90% of the time in his mask,
Right,
and it seems like
and that seems to be what he did. Too.
Yeah, it-
Ryan Reynolds was
it
basically.
it does. It
I
seems like
want-
Ryan Reynolds has embraced that. There are times when we've seen it in the trailer where he's shown, but he's still even
Scarred
when
That's the thing. I think
he's scarred
he
up.
knows. He's like, everybody knows it's me under that mask.
Right.
He knows. It's like everybody knows I'm in that costume. So I don't. I need
I
to
think
be
it's more
true
if
to
he
the character.
he
you know?
doesn't care that it's him.
Yeah.
in the costume.
Right.
Right.
It's like,
But even like with
And
Halloween
even then,
and a
it's
couple
not
other
gonna be,
times,
it's going to be a stunt guy in that suit most of the time,
Right.
And then he's going to be doing the voice dubs and stuff, which is absolutely fine. When they did
Yeah.
Green Lantern, they made his mask as tiny as possible so you could recognize his face.
well, at least
Right.
they had the line in the movie. I mean, the only saving grace in that movie was, when what's her name looks at him and goes, "Oh, like I didn't know it was you." I mean, your
Right.
cheekbones are sticking
but
out.
the mask is also,
Yeah.
just covers his eyes.
Literally
and
covers his
eyebrow.
eyelids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. Versus in the comic, it stretches to his
I
temples.
mean, we honestly could do a whole episode of just
and covers his nose in the comic.
covering up the actors in
Right.
movies.
Mhm.
And that's what
Is
we're.
that not what we're doing?
Well, it seems like it.
Yeah, because we talked about this for the last 10 minutes instead of talking about X-Men: Age of Apocalypse.
Okay, well, going back to Age of Apocalypse.
Jennifer Lawrence, we know who you are. It's okay. You can be Blue Mystique.
But again, I don't
Did
think
we-
that's her choice.
No, and that's fair enough. Sometimes it's an actor's decision.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm sure it's whatever the contract was negotiated was like. Okay, but you got to show my client's face for X amount of time.
But here's the thing: at the end of X-Men First Class, she makes the comment of when they're on the deserted island. She makes the comment of "This is who I am" when she changes back into Mystique, and this is who I'm going to be.
Right.
That's one of the main reasons why
She
she
wasn't
leaves.
famous yet, though.
Right, that's true. She hadn't won an Oscar. That's one of the reasons why
She
she
was
left
nominated,
with
though.
with
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Magneto.
She was already nominated.
She's-
and
Right.
She was already
She
in
is
one of the
known.
biggest films of the world.
Right.
And Hunger Games, I think, just started.
I think
It was
just
just
come out.
about to come out.
Yeah.
Or they were
Right.
I think it was
prepping
already
for it.
out.
Yeah.
But my point is that every the Days of Future Past and now Apocalypse, you're seeing her more and more. Matter of fact, I don't even think we saw her as Mystique in the whole trailer.
But that's the thing. That's what I was saying. I was like, oh, and I made the joke of, oh, I didn't know Katniss was in this trailer.
Right.
It's because her character
Now you're not
portrayed
going to
in the
know
trailer.
who she actually is,
Right.
because for 5 movies, it's been they've been doing that character a certain amount of justice by we're going to keep her blue. That's a
Mhm.
huge part of her
Yeah.
character, and then suddenly, nah, that's okay. And then,
Well,
but
there's
you're
an-
right. She does
there's-
make that one
But that's
comment
just
at the
the
end of.
trailers.
of
There's an
First
open
Class.
possibility we're all missing.
Yeah, that's just
No,
trailer
no.
shots too.
She doesn't have her powers.
That's entirely possible too.
That's possible.
I mean, that's the thing. Is she fights as a soldier, but she doesn't have her powers.
That would be interesting. See,
Yeah.
to me, that would be more interesting than just let's not put her in because she's Jennifer Lawrence.
Well, it's a way to get
It's
to
a way
that
to.
point.
It's a way.
Yes.
It's a way to.
It's a
rank
justify
yourself.
it.
It's the
Yes.
it's the
Right, a
why do we see
justification.
Iron Man? Why do we see Robert Downey Jr.'s face in the HUD the whole time? It's look, we're not going to hire this guy and not show him for most of the movie, so we got to come up with a way. Okay, we can put him in there, and he can use his facial expressions, and he can talk, and that's
Mhm.
where he interacts with Jarvis, and yada yada yada. Same thing here. Well, we have Jennifer Lawrence. Who what do we do so that she isn't supposed to be blue throughout most of the movie? Let's just get rid of her powers.
Right.
She has her powers siphoned from her, and she's just come to the X-Men for help, and then she gets wrapped up in this thing. So,
Psylocke puts a mental block.
yeah, I think it's more interesting to look at the fact that 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, all heroes.
Yes.
That to me is the most interesting thing. That if it is those 4, and
Well, yes,
it's
they've already
Archangel
announced
and
it.
Psylocke, Storm,
Storm.
and who's the 4th I'm missing?
Magneto.
Magneto. So
Magneto.
Magneto's the only one.
And it's completely Wolverine free.
Well,
We'll
there's
see.
that,
That
one
we
trailer.
know of.
anyways. The trailer was not
Yeah.
selling you on Hugh Jackman, which is what they've done for
Right.
almost every
Which is
Right.
film until First Class.
Well, they've also said that he was on set for Deadpool at some point, and he was on set for Apocalypse at some point.
right.
And that he has said that his last X-Men is going to be the next Wolverine movie,
Yeah.
the Wolverine 3. which presumably is Old Man Logan. But yeah, this one is Wolverine free.
Right. The trailer, they're not selling you on Hugh Jackman, which I think they're trying to break free of needing him. They'll just recast him. And that's
well, that's the.
Well, I
thing,
think
it's
it
like-
also gives you a point that you make that last Wolverine special a little
Right.
more, so,
Right.
or that last Wolverine movie.
Well, it's
little
also
more
to
special.
maybe get the fans used to the fact of, hey, you know what? There's
you're
other
not gonna have a-
characters.
yeah, you're not gonna have a Wolverine
you can
in every
like,
movie.
you know, you can watch these guys, and then maybe
Which
eventually.
refreshing for me, anyways. 'Cause
Yeah.
I like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, but it's also most of those movies were like, this is Wolverine. The first 3 X-Men movies, Wolverine story, and then First Class, he's gone. Then you have Wolverine Origins, which no longer counts. And then Days of Future Past was all Wolverine, and then you had the Wolverine, the second Wolverine film. So he
Well,
was
do you think
carrying
Days
the
of Future
saga.
Past was kind of that was the tying the two universes together?
No,
To
I
say
think they
we're
just-
not really rebooting it. We're
I think
just
that they saw
kinda-
that story and like, this is a chance to use Wolverine.
Yeah.
Right, and it's
Yeah.
also, I mean,
And it's fine. I mean,
'cause
that's.
I think they could have. I mean, if they had put Ellen Page as the lead in the movie like they did in the comics, I don't think people would be complaining. Because
I think people would be complaining, but there's no studio executive that's going to sign off
Right.
on having
As
Ellen
her.
Page be the star of a multi-billion-dollar picture
You're gonna
versus
go-
Hugh
you're
Jackman,
gonna go Hugh
who's
Jackman.
already had 6 Wolverine films or 6
Yeah.
films with Wolverine in it.
Dude, she
be
can
successful.
totally carry that movie.
I'm not saying whether she can or can't. Audiences are not going to go to that film if it's her.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's the one of the thing is the studios don't seem to trust themselves and the story that they're telling. They've
Right.
got to bring in even look at some of the other movies. You know, they've had to bring in other characters in order to try to sell the newer stuff.
Right. But it's all,
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week.
We'll
Yeah.
talk about that next week.
Right.
No, it's interesting. I liked it. I liked the trailer.
As far as Apocalypse, and I'm just throwing this out there. Chris and I already had this conversation last night, and I kind of want to get your guys' opinion. The original complaint, uproar, almost breaking the internet with the nerd culture was that Apocalypse was purple.
Yeah. It looked terrible regardless.
There's a lot of purple in this trailer. Obviously, there's a lot of purple in the X-Men universe in the past, especially around the time of Apocalypse. You know, especially when you start throwing in like Psylocke and some of the others who their main thing is purple.
Yeah.
I said, just throwing this out there as as a hypothetical thing, do you think that maybe Apocalypse's color got changed because of the fan uproar?
And that's entirely possible. I think that
Because Bryan Singer
if
is
the movie was
really
a good-
big on Twitter and on the internet.
right, if the movie was good, that people would have begrudgingly gotten over it eventually. And if they changed it because of that, more power to them that they were able to do it and at least make it look as seamless as possible. But I don't think they changed it.
I think this was the plan the whole time.
Yeah.
Because
It was just here's a production photo.
Right, and it's his makeup
it's-
and
yeah.
his suit is purple.
Not everything's
But then
done.
when they properly light him in the film, when they use the right gels, he's going to come out the shade of blue that
I mean,
he
if
wants
he's
on
if he
film.
has CGI effects put on him, purple is a way that you can use it
right to mark
to
off
mark
him.
where
Right.
he is. He's going to stand out against the background.
Right.
He's going to do all those things that makes it easy to take that frame and be able to digitally manipulate the character
Yes.
within it, but also not having to just remove him completely, or he'd just be wearing a mocap suit.
Right.
So that's what
And that's-
I just think that.
well,
it was-
as
that
Chris
was
said
what
at the
it-
top of the show, we had said early on that in the beginning of it, when we first saw those pictures, that more than likely they weren't color corrected. They
Right.
weren't, that wasn't the final shot.
Right.
And now we're seeing some trailer that
Yeah,
is
it looks good. And
either final shot or close to it.
Yeah, I don't think they changed it because of the backlash. If they did, that means they listened, which is good.
Oh,
Right.
Backlash is never going to get his own film.
Right. So no, I don't
Terrible
think they did.
Wildstorm
Backlash.
character. No one's going to do that.
I don't think they did. But if they did, then that means they're paying attention.
And
At
that was
least.
kind of my point of that question is
Make him
do
red
you-
and green. Release it next Christmas.
Oh God, get Shane Black to direct it. But do you? And that was kind of my question was, do you think that they are listening enough to the fans now that they would make that type of change, or do you think that the studios are so far separated
I
themselves?
think something that big,
I don't.
having to go back and change the color of your character completely, is not something that you would do if you weren't already planning on doing.
Right.
Because that would have had to already been in the budget.
Yeah.
To go back and we need an extra $5 million because we have to color correct every single shot that the main villain in our film is in
It's purple.
because a
Because
bunch
the
of people
fans.
on Twitter went, "It's supposed to be blue. It's purple, stupid." That's dumb.
And Brian
And no
Singer,
one's who's going to give you that. No executive is going to be so in tune with the world to go, "Hey, yeah, let's just pony up that extra $5 million so they can correct
Right.
it."
right? Well, look at it. I mean, Brian Singer has not completely jumped the shark, so to speak, with his fans and with the fans of the franchise to isolate them so much as to completely change the idea of a character or the color of a character.
I don't know. The first X-Men movie was a pretty big departure from the regular X-Men fare, and for me, the X-Men movies didn't really become X-Men movies until First Class.
Yeah, but even
X2 was
even
pretty
even saying
X-Men-
you know,
well, X-Men-
changing
because that's the
the
thing. Is X-Men?
I would say from the design aesthetic to be
There's-
more specific.
Well,
than
yeah,
that.
but that was
But that's again. It was
it's a
it
thing
was
for time.
It came off of the Matrix too, and
Yeah.
they were very clear that the reason the suits look like that in the movies is because of the Matrix being a smash hit as well.
and it was also the
But they
fact that
even
they
make
just
the
didn't
comment.
think those type of costumes
Would
with anyone
work,
would
right.
really work. Because even with Spider-Man, you're like, "Ooh, Spider-Man spent yeah, but it's blue and red. It's a very simple blue and red.
Right.
To put
Right.
them in,
Yellow
the
and
yellow
blue.
and blue, super blue, and all the stuff that was
they
with it."
still gave Brandon Routh a brown cape for Superman Returns.
Yeah, he's got that super maroon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
light
most people
color.
hated that costume too,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of backlash for it. But the X-Men, I mean, even they had the courtesy enough to at least acknowledge the former,
Right.
yellow spandex.
Oh yeah, once
in
they
it.
did that for First Class, I was really excited because I mean that's also Matthew Vaughn's sensibilities too. He's not afraid of the ridiculous, and I think for the first few X-Men movies, Bryan Singer was not trying to make comic movies; he was trying to make regular movies.
But even if you look
Use
at the
comic
first
characters.
X-Men movie to
but
where
I think he's loosened up because he worked with Matthew Vaughn on First Class.
Yes.
and he saw how well it worked.
Again, I think it was just
It was a
that,
different
that
time.
Yes, it
and
was a very
everything
different
with it,
time.
and I think what they were going for, people complained about, well, you didn't use the original lineup, and it was just like we couldn't sell some of those characters.
Right.
Beast is a tough sell versus Storm,
right.
that sort of thing. And then the second one, to me, X2 is a perfect comic book movie because it's such a comic book brought to page, and you remove them out of that costume for a lot of it and just put
Right.
them in civilian clothes. It was one of the things of the X-Men; they weren't always in costume,
they stayed pretty
Yeah.
true to Sabretooth in the first
They
one.
did. They did.
And
which is actually one of their mistakes. 'Cause
Yeah.
we found a much better Sabretooth later.
which was the only saving grace of Wolverine Origins.
Can't wait
Um,
till they go back and digitally replace.
But even watching it
Tyler
last
Mane
night,
with
you're,
Liv Schreiber.
when you're looking at it and you're going, you know what, this movie, because X-Men was pretty much the jumping off point for superhero movies. That if that movie, other than Batman,
I don't know if that's true. I still give that to Blade.
really,
Yes, because Blade was the first truly modern superhero film that did its job well enough that a lot of people didn't realize they were watching a comic book movie.
Yeah,
that's true. I'll
Blade,
give you
Blade
that.
basically was something that took its source material and put it out there, and people went to see it. And people who enjoyed the source material enjoyed it, and people who had no idea that it was source material enjoyed
Right,
it.
I'll give you
It's like
that.
Shawshank Redemption when you tell people it's a Stephen King novel, and they're like, "No, it's not." Like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
So Shawshank Redemption is a Stephen King book. No, they can't be Stephen King. I know what Stephen King is. It's Carrie and It. No, that's what it is.
Right.
Blade was one of those things you saw and said, "Oh, that can't be a comic book. He's not flying.
Right.
He's not punching people. That's not. No, this,
No,
this
I'll
can't
give
be,
you that. I'll
so
give you that. But if you're looking at
X-Men
a
is very
straight
important.
comic
X-Men
book-
and Spider-Man
Yes,
are the
yeah,
two
the
extremely
two
important.
important
You don't.
ones.
Marvel doesn't do anything. If Spider-Man does middling and X-Men does middling, Marvel never gets into the movie business
Sure.
on their own. Marvel just ends up selling everything to studios that are desperate to find something. And look, the last 15 years of our movie culture would just be completely gone.
Right. Well, I don't even think you would even have something like Batman versus Superman as a movie without having some of these other, like
They were also
X-Men and
trying that
Spider-Man.
for years too. They put I suppose
The logo with
they put the logo in I Am Legend, which
Uh-huh.
coincidentally has Will Smith in it.
Woo!
But that's when they were first trying. They were
Yeah.
banking on Superman Returns being a mega hit to do something. And it
But
didn't
you're
work
still
out.
talking post X-Men, post Spider-Man,
Yeah.
And so all of those things, do you think that X-Men Apocalypse is going to stay true to enough of what the fans would want from an Age of Apocalypse movie and still
Well, that's the thing. I think they dumped that title because it has nothing to do with Age of Apocalypse. It's basically just Apocalypse versus the world. There's lots of Apocalypse stories like
Sure.
this. This is what the first Apocalypse story is in X Factor.
Right.
It's him coming to the world in modern times and trying to exact this idea of the survival of the fittest, and the reason that he falls from the reason that he's a mutant. He thinks mutants are the next step evolutioning. It just like what Magneto does, but even farther to basically say Magneto at that point is mutants should remove themselves and we'll own our own society. Apocalypse advocates open war between mutants and humans because he knows the mutants are going to win because they are the fittest. They will survive, and then they'll build their own society on Earth with no humans alive at all.
Right.
That's his whole point, over and over and over again. That's what this film will be. It's Apocalypse showing up, and then it has a lot of the backstory as it was ending up being written as Apocalypse went more and more, and you realized that they brought the backstory that he was the first mutant and that he was revered as a god in ancient Egypt, and that he had been through all these times and all of his connections to Mr. Sinister and stuff like that. That's the interesting thing to me is if they'll show Mr. Sinister.
That's what I was wondering, and I was going to ask that question a little bit later, which I'll just go ahead and ask it now. Do you think, and I was wondering this the other day, do you think Mr. Sinister as a character is too far-fetched for mainstream audiences?
I don't think it's too far-fetched, but I also don't think he's necessary to the story.
He's not. I don't think he will be a necessary piece of the story. I think it'll just be an Easter egg in the background.
He's just going to be a doctor.
Yeah.
You think so?
It'll be Dr. Essex. Yeah, it'll be Dr. Essex, or it'll be...
He's not going to look like Sinister is.
Yeah, it'll just be someone in there because you put that seed, you can continue this sort of thoroughfare, this sort of theme line going forward, and you can use Sinister as a villain in another film. I mean, if they're going forward with new people as X-Men, we see new actors as the original X-Men. If you're going to go forward with this, and you're going to do another film, and you want to continue the theme of mutants versus humans, Nathaniel Essex is a great character to use because his whole point is to try to get a pure mutant.
Right.
Of thinning the bloodline to get the most powerful mutant. That's why he was obsessed with Jean Grey and Scott Summers, thinking that the child of the two of them,
Create Madeline Pryor.
Yeah, so there's a lot of avenues you can go to. It's just kind of an interesting thing because they do have a connection. It'd be interesting to see him.
that
If you want to
character-
do, you can have him and Channing Tatum as Gambit show up because Gambit at one point was working for Mr. Sinister.
Right.
Right, but it's also he's a character that can drive his own movie in and of itself. Just his storyline is interesting enough that you can get a movie out of it.
Well,
You don't really need him for this.
And he is such an interesting character, but he is one of the more outlandish characters of the Star Wars.
I would say his appearance could be considered outlandish, but the core story, he just needs to look like a regular person. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to have the pale skin.
Well, we saw that with Kilgrave as Purple and Jessica Jones. You didn't need to have the Mr. Purple in order to have the core of that character.
Right.
Does he have the TARDIS somewhere in the...
Shut up.
But yeah.
I get
he can drive his own movie. Will he be in this? Maybe. It's
but a lot of
possible.
his appearance is the appeal of the character too.
Right.
It is for me. I mean, I like that he's a geneticist and he screws with the genomes, but... It looks awesome.
His appearance is one of the coolest looking ones. Yeah. And the cape, even though it's so impractical, is one of the coolest iconic images you can see.
Right. Is he going to be in the movie? I don't know. Maybe.
It would be an interesting twist. That would be an interesting thing to leave out until the very end and have that as a reveal in the movie.
Sure.
Anything in the trailer that you saw that was a spoiler to you?
I don't think so. I think they did pretty good. I mean, I think
Not in terms of story.
Yeah, comic fans kind of know the story enough to sort of see the elements that they were like, oh, hey.
Anything they had already said because they'd already mentioned who the characters would be playing, the Four Horsemen, so that wasn't a surprise either. I mean, that would have been interesting to see the trailer for the first time and realize that the Four Horsemen are Storm, Psylocke, Archangel, and Magneto, with Archangel being the only comic book character that has a connection to being one of the Four Horsemen.
Do you like this Four Horsemen group?
Yeah, I think they're cool.
I mean, it's an interesting way to introduce Psylocke and Storm into the new universe.
Yeah, or at least the young Storm. Who,
right.
I wonder if they will give her the accent that Halle Berry could not maintain.
And the funny thing is, we were watching it last night, and you literally could hear it come in and out.
Yeah, she can't.
Which she dropped in the second one.
Yeah, she just dropped it entirely because she couldn't do it. So.
Yeah. What about? Okay, so if there was nothing that was a spoiler, do you think that the reveal of Professor X in the suit with the bald head should have been left for the movie?
I don't think so.
There's no reason. I mean, does it suck that we didn't get to see him freshly bald?
Right.
In the movie?
No, it also adds to the fact of, how did he become bald?
I mean, it's
Yeah,
a
you-
good shot at the end, though. At
Yeah.
least it's not like just a.
It's an
straight-up
iconic shot,
from
but
him.
yeah.
Well, it also shows that he goes back into the wheelchair.
Well, he's in the wheelchair at the end of the second one, and you see him in
Yeah.
the wheelchair all through this one.
Do you?
Yeah.
I thought you saw him walking.
No.
Yeah.
Because they established it in Days of Future Past that it was the
Yeah.
serum that the Beast came up with. But was
All I want to know is if Kelsey Grammer is going to be back.
Never.
I don't think so. I think you know what the little
He did
bit
such a good job. Like of
the
all
little bit that you had. I think Days of Future Past
Yes, and they brought
was a
him back
nice
for that,
wrap up
and-
for all of those characters.
Well, that's what it was.
Yes.
That's the reason that they redid the Days of Future Past at the end is like, look, we erased everything else. The number 3 didn't happen. Chuck is still alive. Gene and Scott are still alive, and they're together, and everybody's happy. And this is what
it was their swan song.
Yeah, and that was basically all it was, and that's
Yeah.
all I wanted, and that's what I got, and
Kelsey Grammer
that's
is in
one of the
future.
reasons why it was one of my
Because
favorite
see,
ones.
here's one of the things that I noticed watching X-Men last night was that they don't give you a time frame of when this is happening.
Yeah, it's just generically 2000s
Something.
something.
Yeah.
So it could be all of this stuff. You know, we saw the '60s in
They don't really have cell phones.
First Class.
though,
We saw the
so-
'70s in Days of Future Past. Then this one obviously is going to be the '80s or so. So that could have been 2000
Yeah.
whatever.
But it's also like that's sort of the that.
Look,
like,
if Terminator Genesis has taught us anything, it's just don't worry about time travel.
yeah,
It
don't
could
worry
still
about
all
it.
happen. Yes.
They didn't have
Believe
cell
it in your
phones.
head.
Yeah.
This was
So-
It's just a story.
before Twitter, but after MySpace is when.
Look, when the X-Men
was when the first X-Men movie took place.
when the original X-Men came to the future and have their own book as kids and interacting with themselves as adults in the comic books, their whole timeline is thrown completely out.
yeah,
I mean, the X-Men timeline, if you look at it, it's so fucked up that I don't think that even Marvel knows how to put it back together in a certain way.
It isn't a chance to putting it back together. You're just telling new stories.
Yeah.
That's all.
Which
it
the
is.
movies
They
are
pick
kind of
and choose.
doing that too with
Mhm.
it. Speaking of timelines, we've seen Independence Day, Resurgence, the new trailer that came out,
What does that have to do with timelines?
Yeah, what does that have to do with time?
because
Michael
it
Crichton book?
continues the
Yeah, I was gonna say,
timeline.
is it the Michael Crichton book?
It continues the timeline of the first Independence Day,
Okay. Why wouldn't a
20
sequel
years
do that?
later.
Why wouldn't,
Because a lot of the reboots or reimaginings or whatever don't do that anymore.
it's a
they
direct
would've-
sequel.
They
though.
would have just remade.
This is a direct sequel 20 years later.
Right. It's interesting. I'm not.
It's
not
going
excited
to be
for it.
terrible.
Yes, of course,
Because
I'm
the
not-
first one is terrible.
The trailer for this looked good.
That's fantastic.
okay.
Trailers to a lot of stuff look
Look
good.
Awesome.
I did, but
Look,
here's the thing.
It's
I'm
an
not-
interesting concept.
Yes.
The beginning is shot well.
TV
you know,
show.
the
Should have been a TV show.
UN driving out there, and we get the boom.
And we see there like the alien city that
Boom.
nobody ever noticed.
Yeah, it's like, hey,
Yeah.
this is where is this? It doesn't matter. There's
It
no
looked like
way.
it was like in the middle of the United
yeah,
States. you know?
unless that's something later that just started. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, how
But
have
it's
we
the-
missed this for the last 20
Yeah.
years? Aliens have been living among us, and we didn't know. Look, it's. Are we
I didn't-
really
it's a-
are we really going to get excited for a movie that's 21 years old?
Right. It's also I'm not
It worked for
enthusiastic
Jurassic
about
World.
it because
Didn't
I
work for Indiana Jones.
I didn't like. It's like.
Sort of.
I
So
don't
did none of you
care.
like the first one?
First one's terrible.
It's cheesy.
I
as
like the
hell.
first one.
I
yeah.
know.
The,
We're
fir-
not
the
gonna
first
do it
the
first.
first one is one of those movies that you watch it and you go, okay, this should be a lot better. But when you really start to think about it, it's so dumb.
All that needed to be said
It's-
about Independence Day was said in Independence Day. I did not need a sequel.
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
I'm
I
not-
totally
'Cause here's-
agree with that.
Independence Day, when
And
I
that is-
remember when I
that
first
is
saw
as far
Independence
as
Day, I
I
was like,
go.
the first hour of this film, the contact sequences to me are everything that's interesting,
Yeah.
minus the stripper part, because of course she's a stripper because she has to be a stripper. Once the attack starts, you're just like, no, this. Will Smith is the only pilot on Earth who's able to figure out how to get past one of these alien spaceships that is superior weaponry, superior maneuverability, superior everything. These things would just lay waste to everything that's here. Every alien movie's stupid when you realize if you can cross millions of light years to come to our planet, we don't stand a chance.
Well, that's why War of the Worlds
That's
worked.
War of the only thing that it gets to the end of it, like, oh wait, we have to kill these things. Bacteria again, stupid. The War of the Worlds, the Steven Spielberg version is so dumb. Like, you're literally on the planet.
for
all these years, and nothing. None of you like figure out that most of the planet can kill you. Signs.
That I
Signs
agree
is one
with.
of the things. Like Signs is for me like if you just take it as a horror film and it makes you jump and but when you really think about it, you have an alien society that comes to Earth. They don't send a scout that then comes back and says, "Okay, so you see all this blue stuff right here? It covers 3/4 of the planet. Yeah, that kills us.
Well, no,
so,
I agree
so
with.
we're not going to this planet anymore.
Well, the thing about
we're going to go somewhere
the Steven
else.
Spielberg one, I totally agree with. The
thing about
original War of the Worlds.
The idea behind War of the Worlds is the Martians are also doing it as an act of desperation, and
Yes.
that sort of plays into the in Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds. The fact that they're not from Mars. Because
they've been here for billions of years.
That the ships have been underground for years, and it's like, then why did you leave? Why did you wait till now?
Right.
Those are those questions. Like that's that J.J. Abrams thinking of like it doesn't matter. It's the intrigue.
Well, that's
Chris's
thing with like
the
Supergirl
box.
and Superman and Star Trek and everything. Why did you wait 30 years to all of a sudden now decide to do it?
Right. It's the mystery box, and I don't like it. I don't care for it unless you actually have a solution.
And if anyone's wondering why we're talking
intrigue.
World of the Worlds with Independence Day,
because
World of the Worlds
is a modern day version of
Independence Day is a modern version of War of the Worlds. Yes,
especially the 1953 George.
Yeah, because remember that part in War of the Worlds where a MacBook took out the entire mothership?
No, but it's a computer virus.
It's a computer virus that somehow interacts with an interstellar spaceship that is able to traverse light years in a small amount of time.
But it's Will Smith. Woo!
Yeah, it's a communist. It's a communist
it looks like the
spaceship
pilot
society.
in
They
this.
don't,
The
it's Will
younger
Smith's son.
pilot. It looks like
it's the son.
It's the son. It's the stripper's son.
Yeah, it's going to be the stripper's son. He's going to be like, my dad was a pilot. Now I'm really a pilot. The saving grace of the film is that at least they've done the idea of we have alien technology and we've adapted it into our society.
Right. Yes.
They have laser weapons. They have brand new jets that we've never
They
seen.
have twin jets.
Yeah, they basically have like super jets. This is something where the aliens come by and on a one-on-one basis, you have a chance.
Yes.
When this gigantic ship shows up, teaser spoiler, then you're like, oh my god, there's so many of them.
Is that actually a thing? Teaser spoiler?
But it's also
apparently.
for me the weird thing about it is that why would the again? But it's also like those nagging questions that you like. The movie, like at least the trailer immediately falls apart. I can't speak to the movie. This may be an entirely different race of aliens. Because when you sort of
that would be fascinating,
right? Because you look at it's
Robotech, but it's some
right. But because you look at it's like okay, we have their technology. It's been 20 years.
We have
a society that especially a space-faring society, is not going to be able to completely revamp and and change its technology. Not so much in just 20 years, but on the society in which they live in.
Right.
At least and then the idea that they come here and they're suddenly they're already like the original race, which sent this one bizarre scout ship, is now suddenly like, well, it's obviously 20 times more powerful with different style ships.
It's the American version of Robotech.
Yeah.
When they took they took 3 different series in Japan, they mashed them together. What they did is the Macross Saga has a certain alien, and in the American version, it's the Zentradi. The SDF one shows up. The world adapts that technology to its weaponry because they know these aliens are coming and they're going to come to take this ship.
Right.
We have to have these big, huge mechs that transform in order to stop them. You go through the whole thing. As you go through Southern Cross, and there's something else, and then you get to the new generation. I can't remember what the third one is called all of a sudden. You find out that the Zentradi are a warrior race that was developed by the Invid to come and take the SDF-1 back because that ship has this protoculture, which is this super magical MacGuffin. It's another race of aliens that come to Earth to finish off the job, and they're more powerful than the Zentradi they first showed up. The Zentradi were simply built as warriors. They're robots in all intents and purposes. They're clones. They build this warrior race, and they send them out to do their dirty work. The storyline that they put together was basically that it's a different race that sends the first race that you see and the second race that you see, and now we've come to finish the job.
Right.
That would be the kind of what Sebastian's talking about. Be kind of interesting thing is
that
if
would
these
be
aliens
interesting,
aren't
but it
the
looks
aliens.
like from this one is that there's
The idea is
somehow
that
some of the aliens survived and
Right.
they've sent a signal out, and now the rest of them are coming.
Right, and the rest of them, for some reason, have a completely different design aesthetic.
Mommy's coming.
And
Well, it's a different design aesthetic because it's 20 years later. They just changed it.
of course, and they have different ship designs.
Well,
and
look at how different the design went between movies that have 1, 2, and 3 on them and movies that have 4, 5, and 6, even though they're flipped.
Right.
We're
I
not gonna
know.
mention
And
that.
for me, that's
We're not saying any of those
No.
names this
right.
week.
But that for me is like that would be far more interesting if it's just another alien race versus like they're back. Why are you coming back? And Mike was talking about there. It's like you just got your asses whooped by a bunch of primitives. Why are you coming back?
Because
One of them left their watch.
We're
Hey,
gonna
look,
do it
it's
right.
like it's like humans. If we went into the jungle and a bunch of apes beat our ass, we're gonna come back with a bigger gun and to go after them.
No, I'm just gonna
No,
be like,
we-
damn, those apes kicked
No,
my
Vietnam.
ass.
We
Damn,
left.
those apes are badass.
No, 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 we
Story
just- hold
to
on.
let other people go back.
Oh god, here it comes.
No, say it again.
I said Vietnam. We left.
There you go.
That is true.
It's like screw this. We're going home. Goodbye. And why would the aliens come back?
sir.
That is very true.
That's for me. That's why it's so ridiculous. Like you spent that much time coming back.
Okay,
Why?
so
Well,
The
again,
one-
it's the Marvel Universe thing too. Like, how many times do the Skrulls have to get beat on
Right.
Earth before they're like, you
Why
know
are
what?
moving to New York.
Yeah, the
Leave.
Kree and the Shi'ar are like, we can take over all these other planets, but for some reason we can't take over Earth.
We're gonna
Maybe
transform
we should
into
stop.
cows.
Maybe we should
It's
stop.
the Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. It's like, why do you come to New York? Why don't you just go to California's beautiful San Fernando Valley? It's just
Why do we go to St. Louis?
Why-
you
why
know?
does-
Because there's no museums in
why,
California.
why do you come here to New York all the time?
The
Don't you
Skrulls
understand?
keep
That's
turning
where
into
the
cows
Ghostbusters
because
already
it's easier.
are.
The
Look,
one.
I'm not going to say it's a bad trailer. I'm
Okay.
just going to say I really don't care.
It's an interesting trailer, but I
Yes.
just don't have any faith in the,
The
film.
one
Because really, is there a
And
Roland
still-
Emmerich
it's
film
still,
we've seen that we
it's
enjoy?
still Roland Emmerich too. No,
Yeah.
no, there's not been a single Roland Emmerich film that I can honestly say like, damn, that was really good. He's proven himself.
The best dialogue in the original movie was the president's speech.
Yes.
No, the best dialogue in the original movie is "Welcome to Earth."
Then he punched an alien. In
Welcome
the
to Earth. Meet my son.
What? Not Randy Quaid.
Punch the hurricane.
Hello, boys. I'm
No.
back.
Drunk Randy Quaid.
Randy
Randy
Quaid
Quaid.
played Randy Quaid.
I do like the fact that Randy Quaid was drunk in the movie.
Yes.
And probably was very method about it.
Oh
too.
yeah. But
That's
the
what-
president.
So that movie is what caused him to become an alcoholic.
What about
It's like,
Stargate?
okay, you know what?
There you go.
Ooh.
Well, that's what I was like. I was
The
trying to
one.
find his thing. Like, there's got to be a
That's
movie
right.
in his thing.
He did Stargate.
Ooh, there
he did
was-
do Stargate, but then had nothing to do with the TV show that made Stargate live forever.
Which
And
the
he
Stargate
didn't
TV
like
show is what make
what made
everybody
Stargate-
loves.
Yes, and he
Yeah,
knows
remember
people love Stargate so
Stargate
much.
came out the same year as another film, and they're like, you should go see Stargate instead of that other science fiction film because it was better.
That's true.
And
So
then
yeah,
he's
let's
gonna
go through the
remake
rest of it.
Stargate.
Day After Tomorrow, no.
No.
Godzilla, no.
No.
2012 was hilarious.
Come on, is that the
John
20,
Cusack.
20
Oh,
yeah,
wait.
John
Yeah.
Cusack.
Yeah.
With the,
Oh, he was the producer for White House Down, so that's okay. White House Down is
and
actually a
in,
really fun movie.
Day After Tomorrow, the frost that chased them down the hallway.
The villain
roared
is
at
ice.
I
them.
kind of liked that movie.
Shame on you.
No, that movie's terrible. He did 10,000 BC. That was fascinating. All I remember from
The
2012
Patriot.
is when was
The Patriot was cool.
did he direct The Patriot or was he just the
he's-
producer?
He's under a.
See, I love the Patriot.
Same with 2012.
I don't know if it's
did
because
direct-
Era
he
and
did
White
direct-
House Down.
The
He
thing,
shows him as
the thing
director.
that I love 2012. I saw that with my friend Aaron, and
the world cracks in half.
no, what's his face
And they're
plays the
gonna survive
president?
in those little
Murtaugh plays the
arcs.
president. What's that guy's name? All of a sudden,
Danny Glover.
Danny Glover
Danny
plays the president.
Murtaugh, you can't
And-
think of
yeah,
Danny Glover.
I can never remember Danny Glover's name. And I just turned to him and I kind of laughed, like we'll ever have a black president. And it was right after Barack Obama had been elected, and
Yeah.
the woman in front of me like turns around, like I'm some jackass that's really saying that. Like it's a joke because we have a black president. Like it's okay. It's-
Look, I get it. You know.
Morgan.
yes,
Freeman
it was. Yeah, it was much more. It was much more edgy
Deep
with Morgan
Impact.
Freeman and Deep Impact because
Right.
at the time.
And they blamed him for everything.
Morgan Freeman destroyed the world. I asked this asteroid to hit us.
Okay, look. The president's speech in Independence Day.
President's speech at Independence Day is crap.
Oh, it was great. It was
No.
one of the greatest presidential speeches that you would get.
No,
in a
the
movie.
greatest presidential speech in any movie is "Get off my plane." That's
Get
the
off
best
my
one.
Oh come on!
plane.
Get off my
Don't,
plane.
don't even go there because Donald Trump apparently
No, we're not gonna
thinks
talk. We're not gonna talk about that.
apparently thinks that Harrison Ford's really that character.
No, just shut up.
No, he doesn't. It's just called acting.
I know.
That's what Donald Trump does.
Acting.
That's exactly what he does.
That's why you're
I'm
president.
the greatest
needs to be an
actor.
actor.
But you have that
Why-
speech.
No actor's ever going to be a president.
Secretary of State's Jerry Lewis. Come on.
That would be
Hello?
great.
Russia, please don't blow us up.
Jerry Lewis as president would be priceless.
A portable TV studio.
But the president's speech from Independence Day
It's iconic.
It's iconic, and it was all through this trailer.
Right, and they're trying
It
because
came
because
to a
they're
feel-good
trying to
point.
sell you
Nostalgia.
on the
Yeah.
rose-colored glasses of nostalgia.
That is true.
For a movie
That is terrible.
no one is nostalgic
See,
about.
and as soon as
I
they
will say
start-
this. Yes, I watched the movie for 4th of July because it's just a fun movie to watch.
Yes.
Is it a movie that I would watch at any other time of the year? No.
I say there are far worse films out there than Independence Day. It is a movie that has its moments and it's kind of fun. I'm saying
It
it's
is-
a terrible film.
It is the second best Roland Emmerich film after Stargate, which is a franchise I love to death.
But you love it because of the TV show.
No, because that first movie is also very
movie's-
watchable.
I
The
still
movie's
like.
very
I
good.
like the
that first movie
movie.
is fantastic.
That's
No, I
one of
love
those. But it's also
Well,
like
the only movie, I guess, but yes, the Stargate is actually a very good film.
I'm
It's a
surprised
very
how
good
well
sci-fi
it holds
and
up.
it's one of those
too.
things where like that's how long it's been that I've even considered because I watched the original movie and then jump right into the show, which is a direct sequel to
Uh-huh.
it. That is how long. That's how much thought I've ever put into the fact that Roland Emmerich was in any way involved in Stargate. And involved so little in the TV show that he decided, due to its popularity, he was going to remake Stargate.
Yeah.
Because it needed to be remade, obviously.
Well, I hadn't seen it for like the movie.
I still watch Stargate over again.
I hadn't seen it for like 15 years or so, and then I went back and watched it. And I was like,
Movie, the-
"Wow, this still holds up.
It's
This
one
is
of-
still
it
really
because
good."
It's a really, really solid concept, and it doesn't push itself too far.
But in its complexity, it's very simple too.
right.
That's the
That's the beauty of it.
yeah. It's not trying to be anything
Somewhere
more than
along
it is.
the way, he lost subtlety.
There's a lot of
Come on,
things
the
that
raptor
are
babies in Godzilla.
there's a lot of things that are implied in that film that you get because of the iconic or
Yes.
you know the pyramids and all the Egyptology in it, but it's not something that's like you don't understand. Our entire society is based on this alien that came to this planet so long ago, blah blah blah, and all this other crap. It
Right.
just presents itself for what it is, and then it ends up being a bunch of guys with machine guns take on really tall dudes with lasers,
Uh-huh.
and a bunch of kids go crazy and everything like that, and then a ship blows up.
Yeah. But then when you get to the
Kurt
show, the
Russell
show is
survives.
just amazing how there's so many different Stargates and how they all
'cause
interact.
They expounded on because I think that they expounded on an idea that was already like that was ripe
Yeah.
for using different mythologies and different alien races, but also the fact that human beings in and of themselves were able to separate themselves from their alien overlords and become their own people.
Right.
Which again was like a big theme not only in the film because again like humanity fought against Ra and he just decided to never come back.
Yes.
Because it was not worth it. And again, it's just like that again it's a simple concept that there is a lot you can do with.
Yes.
And then
Well, this is simple too.
But
the
the
aliens come
spin-off
back
was
to
kind
blow
of
us up.
really where it jumped the shark.
right and then
I just wonder if Microsoft paid for this film and we'll have like Windows and invade the mothership and it explodes.
it'll be made up operating.
I'll tell you one
system.
thing with this though, Jeff Goldblum looks good.
He does.
Yeah.
He does.
I think it's ripped.
Was
for
theirs
that.
up and not like pressed
Yeah.
against his head?
It's like,
Yeah.
in
it's
the
like pretty
apartment.
good. I just love the fact he can come back and do this film, but he couldn't come back and do Jurassic World. He couldn't have one scene in
That's
Jurassic
why
World.
he
He's
signed
too
up to
busy
do
doing
this film.
This one's he's more of a lead role though too.
Can't.
Okay, before we go into Harley, there is one more trailer. Whoa, there is one more trailer that did come out this week, and I know we're not really supposed to talk about it, but
So don't talk about it. We're not talking about Star Wars. Move on.
Well, you mentioned
you're the
it.
only person that's mentioned it so far. We've all
Yeah, you weren't
avoided
supposed
it.
to
Oh.
You weren't supposed to say
Boo
that.
me.
Told you.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Out of the Shadows came out this week.
We don't need to talk about that one either. Move on.
Well, you talk about it in the sense that watching the trailer, I didn't hate the trailer. I'm not going to see the film because
Yeah,
I knew the first one was a complete.
See, I'll see the
a
film.
complete disaster.
I have the fool me once, shame on. Yeah, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame
Yeah.
on you. Whatever the.
I'll
Don't
see
get
it
fooled
because
again.
I'll see
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Don't get fooled again, man.
To get fooled again.
That's why. Like,
But
I'm pretty
saying
secure.
saying all of that, the trailer, like if this was the trailer for the first film,
movie, I would have
Yeah.
gone
Yeah.
to see this
It-
right away.
it has its tone seems much more even.
Yes.
Its tone seems much more of the original cartoon and even the Nick cartoon now.
Uh huh. The Nick cartoon now is amazing.
The Nick look,
Yeah.
if you want Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, watch the Nick cartoon. The Turtles in space right now
Yes.
with the Fugitoid is effing amazing.
Yeah, oh
Even,
yeah.
even TMNT that they did, which was the
Yes.
animated
The
movie. by
animated
Imagi, that was
That was when good. It was two when they did
quasi-sequel.
Turtles 2000, which adapted almost straight adapted a lot of the Mirage stories.
Mhm.
But anyway, Stephen Amell plays Green Arrow as Casey Jones.
And you know,
right
so far,
on there.
everybody I have heard, everybody that's seen the trailer has said the exact same thing. He is playing the Arrow as Casey Jones.
Yeah, but that
That's
just
why
kind of
they
shows you
hired
who
him.
Stephen
Especially
Amell
out of
is.
this season.
But it's also
Yeah.
that's kind of
all
Casey
happening.
Jones anyway.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's got that.
But that's
that-
why they hired him.
Yeah.
Casey Jones is cocky and,
Uh-huh.
and he's that type of thing. This didn't look absolutely terrible.
No.
William Fichtner's in it. It looks like he has a bigger role in it. I like William Fichtner as an actor. Hey, he's also in Independence Day Resurgence. But no, it just looked like
It looked like how a Ninja Turtles movie that like if someone was just goes like I'd like to see a Ninja Turtles movie, what would you kind of do? With
yeah.
it?
If you're not
This
going to
looks
do
like-
Ninja Turtles as a pure kids film, and you're not going to do Ninja Turtles as the original Mirage series, which has a lot of bite and killing and death to it, and mysticism and all of that, this kind of seems like the type of movie that you would make. And then you have Megan Fox is still in it, and we know at some point she's in a schoolgirl outfit. So
Yes.
you're like, well, okay. It's like
But-
it's like we put all this in here, like this all fits. But then we are going to take April O'Neil and turn her into an absolute sex bot because we hired Megan Fox to do her.
Yes.
I'm not complaining that Megan Fox looks like that. I'm complaining that Megan Fox looks like that in this film.
The things that people have been begging for since the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie looks like the Krang are invading,
yes,
and we have Bebop and Rocksteady.
which
Now
they look pretty good. They look cartoony.
they looked
they look
they looked almost unrendered.
Here's the,
that's entirely possible
here's the
too.
thing.
But their
hold on.
look. I actually like the way they look in the trailer, mostly because like the characters are already very cartoony and bizarre.
Yes, but when you look at them with the turtles,
here's the thing.
The turtles are just very off-putting design-wise.
Here's the
it,
thing.
it is.
Everyone's like, oh, they don't look real. They're not real.
No, I get that.
But that's the thing. They're not real. So
Yeah,
they're
right.
going to stand
For
out.
me,
They're
there's
going
a-
to look cartoony. I'm fine with it. 'Cause, like, no one is watching this. It's not like you have a tiger on screen and the tiger looks totally fake.
Right.
You have two characters that are a rhinoceros and a warthog who are mutated into these gigantic beings. One of them wears a mohawk with little tiny glasses.
Mm-hmm.
The other one's got commando, jeans on or whatever, and a vest. They're going to look kind of crazy. Look,
Right.
they look a hell of a lot better than the
two from number two.
yeah, the stuff
I
at the
agree
end
with
of number
that.
two.
My thing was that when I said they didn't look real, they didn't look finished. The shading on them didn't
Like,
look
for-
like it was finished or
I can
things like
understand
that.
it. For me, the big divide is like when I look at a movie like Jurassic World, the dinosaurs in Jurassic World don't look as good as they did in any of their previous incarnations.
Right.
And that's because they went mostly all CG. They didn't do any sort of good mix of practical effects, and that's
There's
that-
almost too many shots in that film. They
Right.
didn't take the time to render the shots that they
right
had.
because it's just we got to get this. Movie
Yeah, some
out.
of it looks fantastic and some of it
Right.
looks terrible.
And Baxter Stockman's going to be in this.
Right, but then you look at this, it's like Bebop and Rocksteady looking a little cartoony is not going to hurt you versus something like your Velociraptors better look goddamn real.
Right.
And in this movie,
they can't look real because they don't have feathers.
Right.
Well, and even in that, I liked how they at least addressed it. If you're going to do something, you're going to make a change like that in a movie, and you address it, the fact that you're making a
need
change.
a better explanation than that.
Well, then maybe
But still-
Rocksteady and Bebop are holograms.
But still, if you make an attempt to address the fact that you're making that change, I will accept it more than if you just completely this is what it's supposed to be.
I we're getting off on a tangent, but I disagree because I would have rather they not said anything, because then they just gave you a non-answer to something that they could have done but chose not to, and that was what the explanation was. It's like we could have made them look realistic, but people are used to seeing them like this, and that's a non-answer. Versus like I wish if they didn't address it, I wouldn't really care because they already addressed it in Jurassic Park 3. They're genetically engineered theme park monsters. They don't look real because they're not.
So out of these three movies, almost like an F, Marry, Kill, which movie would you want to see? Which movie, if you
trying to marry a movie?
yeah, almost. Which movie would you? Which movie are you going
Well, I'm
to
going to
see?
marry Teenage Ninja Turtles because Megan Fox is in it.
TMNT. Marry X-Men. And then
Well, yeah,
kill
it's like we're
Independence
going to see
Day.
X-Men. We might see Independence Day. We might not. And the smart ones of us are not going to see TMNT too.
Really? See, I would have thought you would have said that you were definitely seeing X-Men. You might see TMNT 2. And
No, I'm
you
not-
won't see.
I just
Independence-
said- I said
to
from
me,
the start.
X-Men is like, it's a long-term
Yeah, he said-
commitment. Effing, one night stand, TMNT.
Right.
And then Independence Day is
Just-
I don't
just
want
put
to.
it
Right.
in
So
it.
you're
So-
saying
I'd
that
rather
you would
see
you're
Beyond
definitely
Steady
seeing X-Men.
over
You might see
Independence
TMNT
Day.
and Independence Day. Forget it.
Yeah.
No, see,
I'm a hardliner. I would not see Independence Day or TMNT.
Independence Day. The thing is,
Independence Day, I might give a pass
I'll
at
give
home.
I'll give myself for this. I'm a sucker for invasion movies. I love alien invasion movies, as dumb as they always end up being. I don't know why.
They're
Is it-
fun to watch. That's what
If
it
yeah,
is.
if somebody,
depends.
if somebody
Like I
pays
said,
for
a
my
lot of
ticket,
it,
I'll
a
go.
lot
I'm
of
not
it is
spending money.
like with Independence Day. A lot of it is the lead up is great. Like I like the beginning of Independence Day a lot. I mean, to me, a film, if it's just there's a big saucer that just showed up over Washington, and it's 2 hours of what the United States would actually do. Like, what is our exo threat sort of idea, and then the movie ends when the pod opens. I would actually like that film.
Well,
Like,
that's
okay,
why you liked World War Z, right? The whole,
Yeah.
or at least the book.
well, the book, yeah.
But you still saw. But did you see World War Z because of the book, or did you see it because you were interested in the movie?
No, World War Z had nothing to do with the book.
Right.
It's a zombie movie, and people said it was good. I didn't go see it when it first came out because I'm like, I know it's not the book because you can't film the book.
Right, and
I mean, you can film the book, but no one's going to see it. It's
look,
boring.
when we stood there and we talked to Max Brooks for the longest time, he said it wasn't going to be the
Yeah,
book.
it wasn't going to be a book, and it didn't need to be anything for the book. It's a zombie movie.
That's
Yeah.
why I didn't go see it, mostly because
Yeah.
the book is really interesting, and this just looks like Brad Pitt running around being chased by.
If
Which
you
there is
if
gonna
you
be a sequel.
Separate yourself.
There's
from,
going to be a sequel.
If you separate
Yeah, I
yourself
figured.
from the book, you can enjoy the film. Here's the thing: I didn't see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't really have an interest in seeing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
Right.
2. I saw Independence Day. Like I said, I don't absolutely hate the film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love the film. It's not one of my favorites. But this is the type of film. Even with watching the trailer, I'm like, I know this is going to be dumb as hell.
Right.
But for some reason, it intrigues me to go see
But
it.
for someone that is a turtle lover and fan of the TMNT world,
Look, I'm glad this isn't the only
would you
other incarnation of
you
Teenage
still
Mutant Ninja
not
Turtles.
interested
You
to
don't
see it
you
at
don't-
all?
No, you don't support.
I didn't see the first one.
You don't support you shouldn't support something because of a blind
Yeah.
Look, I saw both of those Star Trek movies.
Right.
I am not seeing number 3.
If you saw number
Interesting.
3, I'd stop talking to you.
Because I didn't like one. Well, I hated number 2.
Oh yeah,
And then-
you've made that perfectly clear.
But that's the thing. It's like no, I'm done. I just don't have to go see it. And my love of Star Trek is not a good excuse to spend money on the third one.
right.
Yeah, it's
I have.
It's
that's
the old
like,
argument
I
of the
have my
guys-
movies at home.
Yeah.
I have they're all on Netflix. I've got my Blu-rays.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
It's the old argument that I used to get into with all the guys on the GI Joe forum for IDW.
Sure,
for
I get-
comic.
yeah.
They're sitting there like, but if I don't support it, there isn't going to be a good GI Joe comic. And I'm like, there isn't a good GI. According to you, there is not a good GI Joe
Right.
comic now.
Why
why
support
support
something
it? The first comic that I actually like looked at and said I need to give this up was the Punisher. It's my favorite Marvel character.
Uh-huh.
That and Thor. I got into Marvel comics through Punisher. Punisher was one of my favorite characters. I bought every Punisher book. I bought horrible Punisher books when he was an angel of death that was spitting hellfire out of his guns.
Right.
I read Punisher when he fought the devil. I read Punisher when he was black, so that they can introduce Luke Cage again to start a series that lasted 6 issues.
You even read
I
in
got
space,
in the
didn't you?
middle. Punisher in Space is fantastic.
Yeah.
I read G-Force. It was great. Punisher War Journal with Matt Fraction was horrible. Horrible. It was worse than Frankencastle, because at least Frankencastle I hated the idea, but the way that the Remender and Tony Moore executed the concept, I could tell it was good comic booking, and I enjoyed it on that level. I hated that it was Frank. That was the first book I'm looking at this. I'm like, I don't have to support this. I don't like this book. So I stopped buying it.
Right.
And I woke up the next morning. I went to the comic shop the next week. The sun came out. The sun went down. It didn't change all this stuff.
Sure.
And you know what happened?
Sacrifice of
Matt
chicken.
Fraction got canned from Punisher War Journal, and they canceled the title. That's the
Well, you had trouble with Daredevil
And then that
and
really
things like
good.
that,
then
which
that
you
really
Whatever,
good
loved
I'm just
too.
like,
came
look,
out later on.
yeah, it's
the one in
it's.
LA.
Yeah.
Which is-
I don't.
But you
want, I don't want a bad TMNT movie over and over again.
Right. Especially when you have such a great television
You have a
series.
great television
So you
series.
still
Also
have
for-
an
and
outlet
Not
for
only do you
that.
have television
the
series,
other-
you have a great IDW series
Right.
too. The
Well, look at
IDW
other
comic series is
Transformers.
amazing.
Look at the other Michael Bay series, Transformers. Every movie, people do nothing but complain about how horrible they are. But you know
Yep.
what they do? They go and see the next one.
And I'm
Right.
guilty of that. And I did that for Transformers 4, and we both were like, what did we do this for? And we remembered, we kind of liked 3 when we saw 3. And then I saw 3 again. I'm like, why did we like this movie? This movie's terrible.
See, I didn't see 4 in the theater, but I did see it. I didn't see the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know.
What movie was that?
I don't know what movie that is.
I think I just said it.
Just moves Transformer
See,
Turtles.
even talking about it has given you a stroke, Rich.
I think I just had a stroke. I really do.
Look what it does to you. Look what it's doing to us now.
You're watching the middle of it like,
It was bad, but I still watched it. But I didn't go to the movie theater to see it.
but that doesn't matter. You still,
you know
you're
what,
still supporting
People
it.
still got paid
Ethan,
because you watched
It's
it.
still
You're
views.
F. Mary Kill on this one. What would you say?
He's not going to see anything.
Ethan's sorry.
He
He's
usually
got
sees
2
one.
movies.
He usually
It's
sees one
summer.
movie a year, and this what's
It's summer.
it's going to be
so-
like your 3-4 movies that you see this year. It's crazy.
Well, this will be
Nuts.
2016. He's still got one more this year.
That's what I'm saying. Like he used all of his movies for next year. He like banked
Oh,
them this year. He took
right.
all the stuff from
It
2016
was like a
and 17.
I
time
used
share.
my quota, so I can't.
used
go
up
see
the
any
quota.
movie.
So if you were going to see these movies, what would you say is your F. Mary
I'd-
Kill?
Definitely see X-Men. I might see Independence Day, and I'll completely pass on Turtles.
Yeah, see, I'm the wild card.
I'll pass on. But see, here for my cavat for Independence Day, I'll probably wait till I watch it at home.
See, and that's
Yeah.
just it. That's what I was gonna say. Is my
Yeah, I'm
as
not,
a wild
I'm not
card.
rushing out
Yeah,
to see
I'm
it,
not-
but
yeah.
if we go, but I'll also say this to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: if people that I know that end up seeing it and go, "This is actually a good film," or "It's good enough," then I'll try seeing it.
Yeah,
If I have it here,
if
you're
if
gonna you might
if a
watch
huge,
it.
If the people I
Well,
know
it
who are
depends.
huge
If you say you
Turtles
like it,
fans,
that doesn't matter because you saw the first one. so,
I know a
like,
couple huge Turtles fans. If they actually go see the movie and then go, that was actually pretty good. And
Well,
it's
our
like-
friend Jonathan, who's a gigantic Turtles fan, saw the first one, and he had to say that he liked it because he couldn't accept the fact that it was bad. I remember this was a Peter David article years and years ago about the first Star Trek Generations film, where they said, well, fans said that they enjoyed it because they couldn't accept the idea that that movie was bad.
Right.
They couldn't accept the idea that it was not a very good film with a terrible villain, that the whole point of it is a ribbon. It was all of this kind of stuff. He's like, when you blind yourself to fandom and can't accept the idea that it's bad,
Right.
you know, it would be like people as a huge Star Wars fan,
Yeah,
they're just like,
there
I
was.
can't.
I was
well, just
trying
saying,
to stop you.
but just blocking those out, being a Transformers fan and
Yes.
still going to see all of them and going, well, I have to like them because the Transformers are in them.
Yes.
My contention is that's not a Transformers film,
Right.
you know, or what
And
have
and you know and you talk about
that
how
just creates bitterness as far as like that my mantra for movies, like if I'm not interested, like I don't have that compulsion to go pay to see something if I really don't want to go see it. And then I mean
I had to get to that too,
I
and
can-
really
that-
realize
that really just
early
seemed
on.
to breed bitterness, especially like from fan bases too, where it's just like look, don't go see it. Really,
But
just
see, a
don't
lot
go
of
see it.
those films I'll go see, and I'll walk out of it and I'll look at it like
We saw Dragon Ball. So
Yeah,
because
that was
the
a
fandom
huge
of
mistake.
Dragon Ball
But
Z, and it
even
was
you and I,
horrible.
Mikey, went and saw Fantastic Four last summer,
Yeah.
and we walked out of it.
I
and
wanted to
went-
hit you both with cans.
Yeah, but here's the
We
thing.
walked out of it and we went, you know, that wasn't a bad movie, but we saw. I mean, it was a
was-
bad
No,
movie,
it was
but
a
we
bad
But here's
saw
the
it.
thing.
Great.
Like
It was
part of me
fairly
also
horrible,
thinks in
but-
terms of the money I spend, and that's the thing is like when I like if I'm paying $12, I mean in some places that can go almost $20 now,
Yeah.
depending on the theater you go to. Is like I'm gonna
Ask Rich how much he spent on Guardians of the Galaxy.
right, but it's like I better
lot of
get
$30 tickets
I
in
better
there.
get my time. Out
Well,
of
see,
this
and
movie.
for Guardians, I
Yeah,
felt like I
here's-
got my time.
Like when
It's
they
like with
make
video
a
games,
Voltron movie,
$1
I'm
1
willing to
hour.
go see
Yeah.
it.
If I'm paying $60
and I'm
for a
gonna
video
hope
game,
it's gonna be good.
Yeah, see that there's a lot of
But-
that, and that's what I think breeds that bitterness. The thing
But
for
then my
me is
expectations do.
I can usually tell beforehand. We go back to
Really, because the three of us went and saw Green Lantern.
I was got free.
I went to go see it for free.
No, you, me, and Chris went and saw it.
Mm-mm. I think I saw that movie by myself.
I saw it with.
Did you go- no,
I
did
you
saw it
went-
with Earth 2.
Yeah,
Yeah, you went-
you guys.
I didn't go to the
you
Earth
didn't
2
go
screening.
one?
I wasn't
Okay.
there.
Really? Because
I remember because Jed got mad at me
Saw it
because
with
he thought
one
I
of the
put
two
it.
of you.
Not me.
But
I saw it once, and
If it
that's
was
it.
only us, then it was me. But again, this is what I'm saying. That's a few years ago.
Right.
This is sort of those changes as I've been going through.
As you're growing up.
Just from growing up, is back in the New 52. I read.
Mm-hmm.
I bought 22 issues. There were only 2 of them that I was like, why the hell did I buy this?
Right.
I read, I think 48 of them between the 3 of us.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a single issue I read of anybody else's that I got to the end of it and went, I should have bought that.
Right.
I knew going in what I thought I would enjoy and what I didn't. Even the 2 issues that I didn't like, the 2 Legion ones, it wasn't that they were absolutely horrible. I'm like, it was more of like, this doesn't feel like Legion to me.
Yeah.
You know, it just felt like a regular team book. It didn't really separate itself from anything.
I think for me, when I bought the original of the New 52, I think it was like 30. Between Beth and I, we bought 30 of the titles, and by the second month,
oh yeah, I mean that's a whole different discussion. Down. But that's what I'm saying is, the point of it is,
but still,
I usually know. But that's the thing is, I usually don't have to try it. I know beforehand. I know that I have absolutely no interest in seeing Film X, no interest in reading Comic Book Z, no interest in TVs. iZombie. Everyone tells me iZombie is great. I just don't have any interest.
Like
in it.
You've never seen Jonah Hex. Ever.
No, I'll never see Jonah Hex.
You have no,
because I knew it was going to be terrible. The moment that he has Gatling guns on the side of the horse,
right?
I'm like, this is Wild Wild West. It's not Jonah Hex to me. I love Jonah Hex, one of my favorite characters of all time, and I read the really weird Jonah Hex too,
right.
Two Gun Mojo and the Slugs of Terra or whatever the second one that Timothy Truman did. But I knew that film was going to be ass because I've always said I know how that pitch went. What's his superpower? He doesn't have superpowers. Hey, I'm a movie producer. I know comic books. I've never read one, but I know them. He's got a superpower. What is it? He talks to the dead. Greenlit, go make that film.
Right.
Plus, you already have it in your head of what you feel a Jonah Hex movie should be.
If it was a Western with a really badass bounty hunter who looks like crap, who has issues because he fought for the South in the Civil War, all the stuff that's there, I would have loved that film.
Yeah.
But instead, they made it into some souped-up, super action, dumbass comedy thing or whatever it was.
I've seen Jonah Hex.
Then my question to everybody here, because now I'm asking the questions.
Okay.
I mean, because people usually have a pretty good bullshit. People usually have a pretty good bullshit detector.
Yes.
What was a movie trailer that you saw and went, that movie looks like ass, and then went to go to the movies and then went, that movie was amazing? I mean, and it all, because a lot of times we just write those off. You know, people don't tend to keep tabs.
Yeah, that's the thing is I don't know if I would see it off of a bad trailer.
Yeah. Right, exactly. I mean, but even if you saw it at home,
it's the other way
Batman
around.
versus Superman.
Batman versus Superman.
The movie looks like ass, but I'll probably end up going seeing it.
I'm not going to see that.
No, but the question is more so like, what movie did you then see? What did you enjoy? Like, of the trailers that you went like, that movie looks terrible, and then you forked over your $12
here's
and then
going,
oh yeah, it was pretty
here's
good.
The thing. If you can't make a bad movie look good in a trailer, it's easier to make a bad film look good in a trailer than make a good film look bad in a trailer.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
The only thing I can think of that would come close is what was it, Edge of Tomorrow or whatever?
That's the one.
See, but I didn't think that trailer looked bad.
Okay. But that's the thing. Hold on. Let me finish.
But no, I like where this is going.
Hold on.
Okay, that's exactly.
Edge of Tomorrow was, I saw the trailer and it wasn't something that I went, I need to go see that. It was in that middle level of, if I see it, great. It kind of looks interesting. When I went to see it with Robert in the $3 theater or whatever, I got to the end of the film going, that film was amazing. That was one of my favorite films that year.
But it was still an interesting enough.
I've never seen a trailer for a film that I thought, oh my god, this is a terrible trailer, and then go see that film. It's the other way around. When you get through a trailer and go, that trailer looks fantastic, and then you go see the film and go, that trailer lied.
All right.
Episode 1.
Especially because, Rich, you saw all the trailers for Fantastic Four, and then still went to go see that
Not only
movie.
saw all the trailers for Fantastic Four, but knew the backstory. You knew the backstory of the production.
Yes.
You had already heard all the things. That's the difference. Like John Carter. Everyone said John Carter was terrible.
I love John Carter.
Here's the thing.
That's the weird thing.
I know enough people who saw it and loved it that I'm interested in seeing that film. Again, it wasn't a bad trailer, though, in terms of that. That was something where, they're telling you this is a bad film, and enough people are seeing it going, it's not that bad.
Right. Yeah, because I'm a huge Edgar Rice Burroughs fan. I'm even excited for the new Tarzan movie, which we got a trailer for. And
we did. We haven't
apes look good.
Yes.
And just like
the whole story looked good.
The whole story looks good, but it's also one of those things like
poster.
I remember just being like, yeah, the poster's not a great poster.
Oh, what, the Tarzan one? The first one?
Which one? I'm
thinking Jungle Book. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Jungle Book.
Yeah, the Jungle Book looks...
The Jungle Book poster looks amazing.
Jane, all I can say is Jane is...
Whoa. Yeah.
But here's the thing. I used to read, as a kid, John Carter and Tarzan. I went on, hearing, like John Carter's the biggest bomb in Hollywood history, blah blah blah. That really like wrecked my life. It's like, oh man, I can't believe they messed up. It's like, they've got a great team of people on the movie, and then I went to go see the movie, and I was like, this is really good.
That movie got a lot of people fired.
And then I remember like talking to other people. I was like, did you go see this movie? And they were like, yeah, I saw it. It was really good. And I couldn't find a single person who saw that movie and went, movie was shit.
Yeah.
And that's the much bigger conversation. What he's talking about is a very real thing. That movie bombed.
Yes.
That movie got people fired.
Uh-huh.
It got studios nearly bankrupt.
Disney freaked out.
Disney freaks. You have what we think is a good film that fails. This is the article over the summer. This
and it's a movie
Tomorrowland. That an interesting original concept.
Okay, there's 4. No, 3.
But
original
the John Carter
concept.
trailers did. But the
Yeah,
question, my question specifically was, what trailers made a movie look terrible, and then you saw it and was good.
I just don't think there's a lot of trailers that make movies
I have
look
3
terrible.
now. I have 3. John Carter.
So that was a terrible. You thought the
look
movie
bad.
was going to
The trailer
look
was
terrible,
fine.
I thought the movie
Interesting.
was going to be terrible after seeing a trailer.
and then you saw the movie and loved it. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Lone Ranger.
You loved Lone Ranger?
I don't say I loved it, but I enjoyed
I
it.
can understand. I'm going to push back and say like
I
I'm a huge
liked
Lone Ranger
it.
fan, and like
You
I
would
feel
say
like
because of Johnny Depp.
that movie.
That may be why.
That's not.
I will in it. I did not like Lone Ranger at all, but to the Lone Ranger film defense, you could cut out 30 minutes of that film and get a good short
Yes.
movie.
Yes.
And
I
that-
agree with
that-
The
that.
Lone
is-
Ranger thing that I hear from people is there's a good movie in it,
Yes.
but
Yes.
nobody did anything with it, and
Right.
that doesn't. I'm like, well, that's still not
But
a
it's
good
still,
movie.
But, right. It still didn't end up
In a
good
way, that's
film.
almost more offensive, where you're like, you had a film in there
Right.
and you
Yes.
didn't do it.
But okay, no, that's fair because that's
And
the
Edge
question
of
is-
Tomorrow, without a doubt, I said that movie was going to be horrible. That they
Okay.
the
Went so
reason
far as when I said I went to see it, he was like, "Why did you go see that piece of shit?"
the reason that
Did
they,
you see it?
Fair enough.
that they changed the name because they had it as repeat whatever.
Yeah, like live, die, repeat.
Yes, they had that as the name at one point.
Well, that was
they
the
changed
tagline.
it the second week because it was doing so bad. I said this movie cannot be good. It's horrible. I saw it on HBO or one of them, and I went, "Wow, I am wrong." And I've seen that movie probably about 7 or 8 times.
It's not an easy question to answer because a lot of times you either never go see or you write
It's hard to
off-
find a trailer that
you write because it requires a lot of confirmation. But you're going to write off a lot of those movies that ended up confirming that they were terrible anyway.
I've seen a lot of
That's fair
trailers.
enough.
I've seen a lot of trailers where I went, I know this movie's going to be bad. I'm going to see it anyways, but I'm not expecting anything. And TMN, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers 4, Fantastic Four, things like that. I knew
and
were going to be bad.
They walked away as just their bad movies.
But I
anyways.
didn't. The only one of those I saw in the theater was Fantastic Four. The other ones I
To
waited.
me, the trailer didn't look horrible, so it made.
Okay.
it
And
was interesting
Fantastic
enough to go see it.
Four could have been a really good movie if you took out the Fantastic
everything and replaced it.
No, the Fantastic Four side of it. If you took out all of the superhero stuff out of that,
He did
and
that movie
just
already.
has a
Take out Doom. He just
trans-dimensional.
I didn't like Doom.
Take
I
out
think
Doom.
all the other
That's what I mean.
actors-
But then you're just rewatching Chronicle, really.
But that would have been a better movie.
But he already made that movie.
That's true.
So there was even no need for that. But
Yeah, Fantastic Four.
Well, I didn't
The
say
first
it's
the
not a-
first trailer that they released for Fantastic Four, I went, well, maybe it's got a chance because you'd already heard how troubled that production was.
Right.
I saw that first trailer. I'm like, maybe it's got a chance. And then as it got closer, everyone's like, no, this is terrible.
Take out the Thing too. I forgot. I didn't like the Thing.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Is if
why
you
I asked
take
the
out
question.
all of
It's
that
a-
stuff,
It's a
Wait, the
difficult
original?
question
Oh,
to answer because I can't
Let's
even
go with the
think
I
of
didn't like
movie.
the original.
No, I thought
it's
you
a
were
very
talking about the
difficult.
movie.
No, for you, Ghostbusters.
I'm not going to go see it
It's-
because
it-
I don't feel an obligation to go see
Right,
it.
but knowing your passion for the original,
But if enough of the ghost heads out there go, holy shit, that was really good, I'll go check it out.
because let's face it, the cast that they have
but-
is a very good comedic cast.
Not according to Sebastian.
No.
You gotta remember, Sebastian doesn't like the people in it.
That's
it's
true.
like, here we go. We can say as much as we want about Edge of Tomorrow. Mikey's still never going to see that film because he can't stand Tom Cruise.
Right.
That's fair enough.
So there's certain things that are in there too. I have a man
So
crush
does that
on.
mean you're never going to see the new Mummy?
He's not going to do that movie.
What?
Yeah, Tom Cruise is doing
He's
the
not
new
going to
Mummy
do that movie.
with the female Mummy.
No, I'll go see Boris Karloff's Mummy.
I'll
The-
go
the-
watch the 1989 Mummy movie and just have a laugh and then be like, all right, I'm done. I'm full.
I wanted more from that film.
I
The
did
flip
too.
side, I love Stephen Amell. I have a gigantic, bro crush
Yes,
on him.
we do.
I'm not going to go see TMNT 2 because he's in it.
That's the
Which is really weird. As much as you've talked about, and you even convincing me on this one, this feels more like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of old.
It
than
feels
anything
more like
else.
it, but after that first film, I don't trust
know.
it.
I'm-
I'm not saying it's going to.
I have no plan to see the first one. I would rather go see the second one. And
like I said,
be
if everyone
like a
says, "Hey,
flesh-
this
But
is a
there's
lot
still
better,"
things
I'll
in
go
this-
see it. But here's what I'm saying. I know it's the same people that did the first
Yes.
one, and the
Right.
first one is terrible.
Yes.
How often do sequels are worse than the first ones in the first place?
Right.
Versus a sequel actually measuring up to the same type of quality or even improving it. It doesn't happen often enough for me to think that there's anything in this film that's going to make anyone in this table actually like that film.
No, I totally agree with you. And there are so many Michael Bay vices in this. You know,
Right.
you see the tank coming out of the water, the thing. You see, Megan Fox tying up
alien
her.
invasion that looks exactly like a
Ye-
Transformers alien
yeah.
invasion.
There's so many of those tropes that are in this,
Wow.
but it's still there's things about it that are nostalgic that make me go,
Sure.
oh my god, Bebop and Rocksteady. Even though I don't
Yeah,
think
see,
that they look.
as a huge Turtles fan, because I was a huge fan of the comic as well, I discovered it through the cartoon and had someone else say, try the comic, and was able to get the Tomorrow publishing of all the early ones and everything. Nostalgia to me doesn't mean anything.
When you saw Baxter Stockman and you're going, that's Baxter Stockman. Oh my god.
I don't have that reaction.
Really?
No.
At all?
No.
No. I'm sick of it. I want something new.
Like
There's very few things that do that sort of. There are little pieces in Jurassic World that in Jurassic World, in the middle of the film, you're like, okay, cool. That was cool. The fact
So-
that it's still the same T-Rex and they go through, yeah. I mean, there was little pieces of it
All
that are
those
like,
Easter
okay,
eggs that
yeah.
they
And
put in.
I mean, even the littlest shot of when the military helicopter comes to the island, it's the exact same shot as when
Right.
the engine copter comes in the first movie. Those kind of things were like, okay, they were fun and they were whatever. But if you're already enjoying it, that's fine. You're sitting there watching Rocksteady and Bebop. For me, I had already gotten to the point where I thought Rocksteady and Bebop were kind of stupid in the cartoon because I had already switched over to the comic.
Right.
And they were never in the comic.
So even going back to the X-Men Apocalypse, seeing Jubilee, seeing Psylocke, seeing Storm in her with her
No.
It's
mohawk.
cool, but it
because
doesn't get me
it's
super
not
excited.
because it's not a guarantee of a good film.
Yeah.
And that's
You know what would make me giddy in that film is if they had Forge from Uncanny X-Men 275 in the blue and yellow with a ponytail and a gun that looked like it was just 3 times his own size, and a good Jim Lee gun, not a Rob Liefeld gun.
toaster gun.
Yeah, that's the type of thing. That
So
sort of 'cause
Cable
Forge
and
was
Bishop, none of
Forge
that.
was one. No, not really. I mean, Bishop was in Days of Future Past,
Yeah.
and it wasn't like, oh, that's Bishop or oh, that's Blink or whatever. It's cool, but it's not something where I go like, oh my god, oh my god. I didn't even do it for the trailer of the movie we're not mentioning. When
Right.
old things were showing, I'm like, that's cool, that's awesome, but I also have voiced my concerns of it just being a
Yes,
throwback
but also
film.
on that, you also did cry at the one trailer that was shown
But
back
there's a
in
different
April.
thing.
Nerd.
There's
Look,
different
like,
reasons.
look, if instead of using that movie that
Yes.
we'll be talking about next week as an example, let's talk about Ghostbusters.
And everybody is excited
because
about talking about that next
and I'm
week.
going to keep it brief because as a Ghostbusters fan who's been one since I was a little kid, I've been just it's hard because it's one of those things like, yeah, they're making another Ghostbusters movie, but they didn't make it on the terms that, like, not so much my expectations, but especially in a world where there were Sony leaks, and you could basically read in the words of the production teams what this movie is. It's like, no, I have no interest. Knowing that they basically shoehorned out Ivan Reitman because he did not like anything they were doing.
Right.
Knowing that this original script that's being used was a script for a superhero film that Paul Feig was going to do that he couldn't sell. It was about a super secret superhero team that was working for the government, and then they get exposed and they get out into the real world. And when he couldn't sell that movie, somebody asked him to do Ghostbusters, and he went,
I know.
No. What he just said was what I just said. If Marvel ever buys the rights back to Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
that's what the Fantastic Four film's going to be. A government-sponsored super team that's been working in secret this whole
Right.
time.
And he couldn't sell this movie. But when they asked him to do Ghostbusters, he said, I don't want to do a third movie, which is why they started then pushing Ivan Reitman out of the production process. And he said, but I've got something I can turn into Ghostbusters, which is why in this movie they're a secret government agency that's hunting ghosts, and they get exposed. That's why their headquarters is a Chinese restaurant, that they go underground.
He's making me
into.
hate this movie
But
even more.
Here's the thing: is like not so much that it's like, look, I don't really care for the comedians in the movie. They can be funny,
Yeah.
and I will not completely poo-poo their efforts. because Spy is not a terrible film, and Melissa McCarthy actually plays a really good straight character amongst a completely ridiculous situation. On individually, the actresses, they've done good work, but not enough for me to go, this is going to be awesome. It's not like when you get Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis and Sigourney Weaver, who all did
Ernie Hudson.
Except for Ernie Hudson.
He totally left him out. I was wondering if he was going to say.
Well, no, because Ernie Hudson had not done any big films by then.
Yeah.
But even so, you also have Rick Moranis in the movie. Originally, Eddie Murphy was going to be Ernie Hudson's character, but Eddie Murphy could not do the film. But even on that, like, if you had, like, you already had people of that caliber doing this tiny film that nobody thought was going to be big. That's very different than today when it's just, again, it's trying to recapture Lightning Bob. But it's also in a world where my simply saying, like, this movie sounds like shit.
Right.
And you're going, it's like, well, you don't like it because they're girls. You just think girls are icky and gross. And the conversation has already been shut down from point where it's like, I don't really think that. I love the Ghostbusters comics, where in the Ghostbusters comics, you've got Kylie Griffin and Melanie Ortiz and Janine as Ghostbusters, and you have Ron Alexander and his Ghost Smashers, who's their competitor. He has a 4-woman team. It's not my thing. It's just that I prefer legacy to trying to buy me with nostalgia.
Right.
Because even you asked me, he's like, but Bill Murray's going to be in it. Bill Murray's going to be in it. Bill Murray's not going to be Peter Venkman.
Right.
He's going to be some random dude for 2 seconds in the film.
See,
Dan Aykroyd's playing a cabbie in the movie. So, like, and even they asked Rick Moranis back. He's like, why would I want a cameo in a movie that they're remaking that I starred in 30 years ago?
Yeah.
I'm not even going to be playing the same character. What's the point of this?
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of the unfinished scenes. That were. What worries me about it is they were very funny, and I have a feeling they're going to end up just being in the trailer and giving that away, and that's going to be like we've seen with so many movies.
Look, we've only got until June for this movie to come out. There's nothing. Think about that. There's no trailers.
Right.
There's only production stills that have been carefully put out to magazines. At Comic-Con, they've already done the prototype, but he's done everything through Twitter, really. He's kind of like, here's a picture of this, here's a picture of that. And even from a production design standpoint, I go like, it's 30 years later, you couldn't design something that looks a little nicer. I mean, come on. These guys are supposed to be, in their, basically garage guys building this equipment, and they came out with something that looks at least a little more polished.
But see, here's the thing.
But I'm not gonna,
Less than a month ago, when I first saw this, they were just at that point getting ready to start editing it.
Right.
And
that you have to remember.
So there's nothing really
like 3 months ago.
Right. And that's what I was going to say is there was really nothing ready to have.
It's a movie that also got its budget slashed down to something like $75 million. So,
as much disdain as you have for this movie, in the opposite of what you were saying, of what your question was of trailer that you saw that you hated and ended up liking, as much disdain as you have for this, if you see the trailer. And there's maybe 2/3 of the trailer you're going, okay, I
still no.
I think I like that. That works.
See, here's the thing: I don't have that kind of obligation towards it. I don't have that impulsive need to, but it's the geek habit.
Right.
you gotta finish the fight, whatever.
What are you laughing at?
Sorry, just going through totally listening.
Did you just die?
You might see the trailer and say, yeah, that could work,
okay,
but I'm not going to go see it.
But I'm not going to go see it because
came back on.
because I don't have that obligation.
Yeah.
I don't have that impulse. But it's also the same thing where I kind of like, even with the original Star Trek trailer, I saw I was like they're building, the original Star Trek trailer for the J.J. Abrams movie. It didn't look bad at all. And I went to go see it with very high hopes.
Yeah.
Not overblown, but I walked away not liking the movie at all. And then I was like, okay, well, they're doing this number 2 one. The trailer looks a little bit better. And I went to go see it, and it's like, well, it was my fault for going to see it. And then with number 3, it's like, I don't care. I don't need to go see it.
You've already been sort of burned for 2. So.
Right. And I don't have that compulsive need to it's like, oh, look, like Bill Murray in the movie, it means nothing to me because Bill Murray is not the character that I care about.
Yeah.
That'd be like if Sam Neill guest starred in Jurassic World as a nobody character. It's like, what? Like, thanks for putting
just
Sam
one of the
Neill.
Restaurant chefs or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, look at me. Look,
if he came in as Jimmy Buffett.
Right. So again, I don't have the compulsive need for that. And that's it's hard.
But see, I
You
wouldn't
can't
really call
sell
it a
me on
compulsive
nostalgia.
need because I'll see most of these movies without feeling.
No, the compulsive need is your need to see Guardians every day.
I've seen it twice this
What I'm
week.
laughing
But, like,
about,
even,
jeez,
even
fuck.
like Jurassic World, like even with all the little bits of nostalgia, I walked away not liking the movie at all. But that's for another episode or whatever. But I
Right.
also like it's like you are trying to sell me on nostalgia. You're playing the theme. You're showing me little bits and pieces here that's like, oh, it's a new version of this scene. It's a new version of with the movie. It just ended up being a lot of just redone versions of scenes in the old movies. But it's like that's not enough for me. But I'm using that as an example. And
What is enough for you? I just have to ask.
I want to
Stargate.
Stargate was really good. But no, even watching this Age of Apocalypse movie, it's like, all right, that looks really good. I was gonna like, even if Apocalypse ended up being purple, again, that's neither
just a
here nor
choice,
there.
yeah.
It's a
Right.
design choice that even if I don't like it,
Look, costumes
start
change.
I'll go
You'll start-
begrudgingly go see it. I
Yeah.
didn't like the black leather outfits of the first X-Men movie, but it was still a really good movie.
Right. Well, these still
Regardless.
have black leather.
Right, they do. But even so, like with X-Men First Class, like as much as I was happy, it's like, hey, the blue and yellow are back.
Yeah.
That was not going to sell me on the movie.
Right.
At all. And for a lot of people, that stuff does sell them on the movies, and then they go see them, and then they're disappointed as all
Well,
hell.
looks at stuff that gets basically translated straight through. Something like Sin City, where everyone's like, oh, and I was like, you really watch Sin City? Like, it's not a good movie because it's a good comic book.
Right, it's a good
You know,
comic.
it's like they just did it. Well, it has to be. I'd rather see Sin City done in a style where it's adapted and it's made with more of a movie sensibility to it, but keeps the tone and so the heart of it. That's what X-Men to me, like the first X-Men film. Yes, they're not wearing the spandex costumes,
Right.
but the tone and the heart and the feel of that
Is
film is
X-Men.
very much
Yes, it
X2
is.
is even more so. I
Right.
mean, I watched X2. I'm like, I just watched an X-Men comic.
And you and the thing is, like, you begrudgingly let that stuff go because this, again, if a movie is good, I've watched enough movies over my life to know what a good movie is. I know a good movie when I see one, and a lot of people do too. They know when a movie is really well paced. They know when the story is being really, really well translated from whatever the original screenplay was. They know when somebody's a good actor or not. Was it the line from Galaxy Quest? It doesn't take a good actor to know a bad one.
Right.
And that's the thing is, I'm pretty good about knowing what movie is going to be good when I see it.
Well, even taking a direct adaptation like 300 was still not completely direct because half the.
Oh no, because the style was so completely
Yeah.
different.
It was completely
just
different. He
wasn't-
added crazy monsters
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah, it was much different.
Well,
Okay,
they're
so
all
hold on.
naked
This is,
in it too.
This is what I'm laughing at, and then we gotta wrap it up out here.
Okay.
So one of the insane fan theories from Crack.com: could it be possible that Batman Forever and Batman and Robin are actually in-universe movies based on the real-life character we saw in the Burton films? That they're movies within Burton's Batman universe? I
Ooh,
love that idea.
wow, that's
that'd be funny.
Yeah.
I was like, there you go. That was kind of cool.
So as we're wrapping up, and now that we had a segue to Batman, there was a Andy Warhol release today, or that somebody released that Andy Warhol directed a Batman versus Dracula film. It's like 21 minutes long. It is all black and white and does not have Batman in a costume at all. It's basically like a really bad psychedelic music video that just mentions Batman and things like that, and it's supposed to be Batman versus Dracula. It's definitely worth checking out, especially if you're a Batman fan. It's all over Facebook. You can find it on the internet. Just look up Andy Warhol Batman versus Dracula. But it's still one of those things where if you're a Batman fan or an Andy Warhol fan, you gotta check it out. And you want to talk about something that's bad. It's just it really looks like it's a psychedelic trip that was completely done on LSD.
I believe it.
Yeah. Oh, especially Andy Warhol, late 60s, 70s. Yeah.
It sounds amazing, but it also
Well, he had a major obsession with Batman at that time too. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. I sat there watching it for 21 minutes, and I was like,
You got stoned out of your
I
mind,
felt like
probably.
I felt like I was on a trip.
Dude, I used to watch Teletubbies, so
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where you're watching
Just can't turn it
Teletubbies or
off.
something, and you're going, "What the fuck am I watching?" But you can't turn it off. You're just mesmerized by it.
right.
So on that note, we're wrapping things up.
Yes. I have to eat
So
dinner.
make sure you check us out on Facebook.com/Nerdibles. We're also on Twitter @Nerdibles Show, and check us out on our website at Nerdibles.com.
Don't forget to go see the new movie Teenage Turtles.
That's right.
Turtles.
Yes,
Go back and listen to the tape. That's exactly what you said.
yes, it is.
Teenage-
And next week we will be talking the movie we're not allowed to talk about right now.
You mean Star Wars?
So for Chris, Ethan,
Wait.
Sebastian, Mike,
There's a new Star Wars movie?
there's a new Star Wars movie,
Oh, wow.
I think it comes
and
out
we are
next
on the
year, though.
eve of it coming out.
That's dumb.
Well, for you.
For me,
Yeah.
Everyone else is
We
the
gotta go
eve of it.
By the way, I'm turning my phone off Friday, so don't bother sending me anything.
I
So
feel like you should turn it off on Thursday.
Yeah, I probably will. Once I get out of work.
do
Just
not go
turn
on.
it off now.
So what you're saying? What we're telling everybody is, do not go on Facebook from Thursday evening until
This is
you
why-
see the movie.
I'm gonna go on Facebook and put all the spoilers. They're all gonna be lies, but you won't know which ones are
Which-
lies.
Here's
Actually-
the thing I love.
There's gonna be
If
one
Rich
truth amongst
Doesn't
the
want.
lies.
If Rich is like, "Oh, I don't want any spoilers. I don't want any spoilers. But who's the one who decided to post the first 2 minutes of the movie on?
It's not actually the first 2 minutes. Somebody, and I didn't post that.
Somebody did from our page.
I don't think it was me.
First 2 minutes of the film. I didn't
No,
know that.
somebody supposedly put up the first 2 minutes of the film, and it's all BS. It's not actually.
Yeah, I
it.
saw it. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
So-
like the guy who said that like
He shot it really well too.
had the
Yeah, he did.
poster or something like that, and it was a lie. And all
Yes.
that type of stuff. Yeah, it was all fan stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a first 2 minutes joke. Somebody edited together a really, really good phony. He took a good bit of the trailer and he did his own stuff, and then he shot it like on his own projection
Mhm.
screen at home. But he did it just right, all the right angles.
Well, it's like the guy who did the trailer, the ultimate trailer that supposedly showed the Luke Skywalker footage, and it was just basically they took the still shot of Luke in the
That's the one.
cow.
That's the one I was thinking of that you put.
Yeah,
You put that
and
on.
that wasn't
Had nothing
actually.
to do with it. All right, that's
All
it.
right, let's move
Nope,
on.
that's all
So
I'm trying to-
for that, we'll see you next week, and we'll talk Star Wars the whole time.